So if you go to full screen,
Okay, sorry, I'm just making sure I was on the right account. Go to full screen.
then it's more,
Okay.
and then
Transcript.
transcript.
Save.
That then pretty much anything that gets said can start to be transcribed.
Voila.
Okay, I love that.
And then same thing with captions where
Oh, is it set a manual captioner?
no, just show captions. So now you can see live time, that's popping up as screen, how it looks in both transcript and on the captions.
That's neat. I love that. Okay.
It's just a little way that makes our meetings a bit more accessible.
Yeah,
And the
no,
best part is, once you save the recording, because you've now turned the transcript on, it actually saves that too, which honestly can help cut down on some of the meeting notes time.
Yeah, no, 100%.
That's epic.
That is a very, very good idea.
It hears from very far away. Jeez.
Yeah, I know. I'm really surprised it actually hears out there.
Yeah, so
That's crazy.
Magic, burn the witch.
it's just really fun. Plus, you can also see it while screen sharing, the captions at least,
Now it's recorded, guys.
which is
Yeah.
nice.
Keep your statements.
Did you remove Alexandra and Mackenzie from the roll call voting sheet?
I believe I did. Yes.
Lovely.
Yep, I did. I'm just gonna
Spend $1 million on a budget.
Yay!
There's a lot to yap about with this budget.
Yeah.
I fear I'm gonna have to move. And with this looks
Where do you prefer? We could be like in the front.
Wait, Allie, you don't want to sit up here? Oh, Allie.
Clover, you made her sad.
Okay, well, you can sit up there. It's fine. It's fine. You can sit up there. It's fine.
We can have strawberry cow on her place.
Wait, that would be cute. Yeah, wait, you can do that. I like that idea a lot.
I don't know. I want to sit with my board. I want to be with my buddies.
Because I mean, it's true. We finally have the entire board here.
Yes.
I think that'd be neat.
And then I can walk up to the field and fetch.
I do kind of need my strawberry cow though, actually.
We actually did a zoomed in picture of my face, kind of like my hat. Next to the microphone, always.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Hello, I'm talking.
Say present for me. I'm not here.
Please caption.
We don't have to say present.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, get Allie's back. You didn't get her compensation numbers.
Oh, bother.
Yeah.
That, and I'll just make sure if I don't have them today, that they are in before the next week. I doubt they'll be there unless somebody's.
Maybe we still, yeah. There's a way to have this show up on the side. Just have this bar show up on the side. Just so I can access the bottom of the Google Sheets more easily. I think I'm just gonna have to deal with it. I think I'm just gonna put it down here and once we get to this part.
I'm sure that the pollen regards the biodiversity are two separate things. You know.
Anybody in the legislature happen to know if the pollinator gardens and the biodiversity gardens are one of the same or two separate things?
I do. They are not, like, they are one and the same, but there are some that are specifically pollinators and not just biodiversity.
Yeah, you know.
We are currently very short of quorum.
We usually are before the meeting starts.
Yeah, but this is you
We're waiting until like 10 minutes after because we need people.
And if I don't need more, then I will.
Yes, because that means our emergency GVM will be a very full GVM.
That doesn't mean you can vote on it.
Not very.
Yeah, look at the positive, guys, gotta look at the positive. Sure, we have 2 people working right now.
Well, I will also say that there's a difference between the two.
Yes.
So by that sort, you should have this one. You're the one who put it in there. Leave it as. So hard. You just email it, send it to text to me like that. I just have to get a budget for the budget. Which is the next. So it's gonna be like this for.
9, we're at 9, we need 4 more.
How long do you wait?
I'm gonna wait 10 minutes, we need 4 more people.
I'm gonna go to hot chocolate. Because I haven't eaten any minutes.
We need 4 people, Mario's on the way, so we'll have 3. If we know 3 people, please spam them with messages, we need 3 people.
You've got time, you can get your cocoa.
Okay, I'll be back.
Well, not turn the water. I like this. Carolyn's joining virtually.
I figured.
Rules list.
Asia's okay, Asia's here, we need 2 more. Carolina's coming, so we can.
Emily came.
Oh, Emily's
Okay,
here.
okay, so we'll have quorum once Mario's here.
Hello.
Fire.
Hello, everybody, we're gonna be starting in just a few minutes. We need 1 more person to hit quorum for the meeting. All good, Megan.
Oh, it's upstairs.
Yeah. I mean.
Mario.
Mario. I love quorum.
Am I quorum?
Okay,
We were really worried about that.
6 on, we have 12. Wait, I miscounted.
Wait, did you miscount?
Matthew, we're at 4. Matthew has 4.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matthew. All right. With the arrival of legislator Wiegand, with the arrival of legislator Wiegand, I will now call this meeting to order at 5:04 p.m. All right, first up, we'll be moving into roll call. When you hear your name, please say if you are present or present and voting. Majority Leader Brummer,
Present.
Chairperson LaBelle,
Present voting.
Chairperson Valdez. Chairperson Valdez. Parliamentarian Bella,
Present.
Legislator Barris,
Present.
Legislator Jeswicki,
Present.
seeing a present from Chairperson Valdez. Legislator Aveza. Legislator Lunger.
Present.
Legislator Martino. Legislator Mays.
Present.
Legislator Mason. Legislator Oprah.
Present.
Legislator Priscindaro.
Present.
Legislator Rosario. Seeing present in the chat. Legislator Snell.
Present and voting.
Legislator Van Patten. Legislator Wiegand. Legislator Wolf. With that, we have just met quorum. I will ask though that nobody please take a point of privilege because we will lose quorum upon that. Pretty please. With that, we'll be moving on into our land acknowledgement. Further, we recognize the wrongs done to those forcibly removed from their homelands and commit to fostering an environment of inclusion that is responsive to the needs of First Peoples through our words, policies, and actions. I will be moving on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda at this time? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to a voice vote. Are there any nays at this time? Any yeas?
Yay.
Yay.
That the agenda has passed. Moving on, we're going on to our guest speaker. Our guest speaker today is Chris Reed, Director of the Oakland Center. This is presented by President Johnson. President Johnson, you have the floor.
Hello all. So I'm sure, as you know, with everything that has happened over the past couple of weeks going on downstairs, I figured you all would appreciate updates from the building director about, some of the things they're working on and what things will look like going forward, as well as a few potential partnerships we've got with the Oakland Center that I've put in the budget, but I figured you would appreciate an introduction to before I spring it on you. So with that, I will yield the floor to Chris Reed.
All right, with that, Director Reed, you have the floor.
I prefer the front because it has more battery.
Ah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Marcus, do you want to kind of give me the talking points? And I can respond to each specific one.
The first thing, just everything as far as updates you've got in terms of, what we're doing with the flood and how things are looking that way. And then on the other side, I know you mentioned the recreation rentals with me. I was wondering if you can give them an idea of what those are and what you're looking to do. And I know you and Riley were working together on a green roof initiative. Just an idea of what that would look like should you accomplish all of your goals.
Okay, great. I will start with the lower level, and in the Oakland Center, we don't use the F word. We call them water intrusion events because they have a bad connotation when we use the five-letter F word. Just so everyone's aware, if I ever say water intrusion event, we're talking about the F word. So last Monday, when we had the heavy rainfall event, we took on a lot of water that came up from the ground, so a lot of hydrostatic pressure, too much rainfall in our systems to handle. So we did receive considerable water downstairs. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as it was 2 years ago. It was almost 2 years ago to the day that we had the last heavy rainfall event that brought in a lot more water. It happened later in the day. So this one was a nice change from the last time, even though it did provide quite the inconvenience. Many of the areas were impacted, so we had water come up throughout the lower level from the far south end outside the OSI. I'm sure if you haven't seen pictures or videos that they do exist, I have some myself, but water was actually forcing itself out of clean out drains, and it continued all the way into the gear shop. So they had it coming up there as well. There was nothing that we could necessarily do to stop it from coming in. It was just too much water. We immediately contacted university cleaning facilities to help with the cleanup. We brought in Belfour to help with that. So they were here on site that same day and started extracting water. As soon as the rain stopped, the water did start to recede, so that helped us out in the efforts and kept a lot of things from probably getting more damaged. In this case, because the water didn't get high enough, we did not have to do any flood cuts, which is when we actually have to start cutting out drywall. 2 years ago, there were a lot of areas where we did have to cut out drywall. A minimum of a foot is typically when we do the cuts. And that would have put us out of service on the lower level for a lot longer. We did have to remove some floors, so there were some carpets in the huddle rooms, one of which SVP occupies, that we had to remove those carpets. We're going to put a different flooring material in those spaces, as well as the lounge across from the huddle rooms in the garage room. That tile is still not adhered to the floor properly from 2 years ago. We knew it had to be replaced, so this time we just had it removed, and we'll be polishing that concrete in the coming weeks to get that ready for the start of the school year. Any concerns about health, safety in that? Everything is clean and safe to be in. If there was any concerns of mold or other bacteria growth, we would have worked with Belfour to make sure that all those materials were removed and that did not happen. And I know that most organizations and offices are back in their spaces downstairs. For the time being, the Golden Grizzlies pantry and clothes closet, as well as the Office for Student Involvement, will be at the north end. Office for Student Involvement is in the Lake Superior room, and the pantry will be in the Lake Michigan room. One other, where it's not necessarily associated with what happened last Monday, but the Open University Gear Shop will be moving up to the main floor here later this month. The work actually, the storefront will start going in tomorrow. So if you see work up across from the welcome desk, that's what that will be. And they'll be upstairs. And so there's some planning going on to have the officer student involvement move to that end of the building sooner than we had originally anticipated. So we'll be working on that over the coming weeks to make that happen here pretty soon. Any questions at all about our water intrusion event? Yes.
When can we expect for the south end, where the original OSI office was at, to become fully functional again? And will that be in time for the academic year to begin?
That won't be in time for the academic year. We've got to go, and there's other issues that we have down there. We will most likely remove those carpets as well. We're waiting on more information in terms of what the cleanup costs were and whether we're going to take an insurance claim or not. We've got a pretty high deductible to reach, so if we don't get anywhere close to that, we're not gonna claim insurance, and we will prepare to clean that out. But as soon as we've got the OSI out of the space, we do plan to remove those carpets, and again, we won't put that type of flooring back in. We would prefer to do the same thing with the technology center, but at this time, we didn't have anywhere else to locate them, and the university side of the technology center had just outfitted that space within the last year, so we're taking a lot more work to get them out and get that space the way that we prefer it again without the carpets out that. So we don't have a timeline yet, but as soon as we do, we will share that. Yes.
So I work with, RSOs here at Oakland, and I've received questions from people and presidents of organizations that keep their things in the OSI. Are those organizations gonna have to move their things out of the cabinets or out of the storage location and put it somewhere else?
They will at some point. We're working on updated storage and hopefully to accommodate more organizations. So we're just trying to identify what those locations are and what it will look like. Right now, everything within those cabinets is safe. Those were not damaged. They didn't actually get much water at that end of the OSI. So for now, everything in there is fine, and it will remain there until we have an alternative location.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Okay, that's loud. I know you mentioned the gear shop will be moving upstairs. Is there any other layouts upstairs that will be changing in addition to that?
It's just the gear shop. So we prepared, the other changes, I guess you could say, are just some of the changing for seating within the food court, and that was just to accommodate that move.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before I move on to the second item? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on. So I know that Marcus has in his budget proposal some sponsorship or some support for a recre rental locker, which is the rental locker we have currently down in the Grizz Den to check out things like pool, the pool table equipment, gaming headsets. We've got some board games and things in there. We brought that in a couple years ago to help with making that space available 24/7, but as long as we're open, as well as throughout the summer, it made that space usable for all students, faculty and staff. We're at a point now where we'd actually like to expand what we're doing with Recre, have more rental lockers. We're exploring more within this building to help support events, school supplies that seem to vacate the welcome desk on a regular basis. Our staplers are, if we have tape, scissors, any of that seems to disappear about as quick as we put it out. So we could use the rental locker for that. Make dry erase markers more available is another one, but also just some more of the recreational type equipment that we do downstairs. We've also explored having some outside and adding some more outdoor, whether it's games or activities outside, and have the equipment available through those lockers. Again, trying to help with some of the engagement on campus, and just, again, provide more opportunities when students are here, for students that live here, potentially outside of the hours that I'm operating. So we are looking to expand on in the near future, adding 2 or 3, but we could also look at expanding down into the residence hall areas and potentially the rec center as well. Any questions at all about the rental locker? Okay. Yes.
So with those rental lockers, would that be more of a student-led initiative? Would you be sending out a survey to the student body, or how would you go about determining what goes inside of them specifically?
So first, we'd start with the items that we know are some of the pain points that we're dealing with just from the open center. But we would definitely, especially with the outside, we would consult with students in the student body to ensure that we're putting items in those lockers that they are looking to use. So if we're looking at outdoor activities, to make sure the right equipment is in those. We had looked at potentially doing the by the fields and the tennis courts, because they're putting pickleball. So one of the things we looked at there was making sure pickleball equipment would be available. We're not doing one now, but that's the type of thing we'd be doing. So if we added let's say cornhole boards or something permanent like a cornhole board outside, we would have that equipment available in the locker so that it's secure and safe and that it doesn't walk away, so it's always available for students to use. Yes.
Would you also look to expanding the amount of already existing equipment that's down there that seems to just be really popular among students?
We definitely could. We have a lot of data from the one downstairs, which really helps us determine what goes in the locker. And we haven't necessarily done it on our end as much as some other campuses have, but there's the ability to put multiple items in the same locker now, even though you're only using potentially one of them. So it's become more intuitive, so we can add more to our already existing. But we can definitely expand what's downstairs as well as in other locations. Any other questions? Okay, the last one I'll discuss, and there's not quite as much detail on this, but Riley and I met last week to discuss some sustainability projects, and one that we talked about was a green roof. Green roofs are something that I was involved with at a previous institution that I worked at. I think they're a great opportunity to highlight some of the sustainability work that we're doing as a campus, but it also serves a need that a lot of our spaces can have. They help with insulation. They can help with rainwater on roofs because they'll collect a lot of that water instead of it going down the storm drains and impacting campus like it did. They help to beautify campus, especially if you put them in highly visible areas. So part of what we will be doing in the very near future is identifying locations that a green roof could work well, work with facilities and grounds to ensure that putting a green roof in specific locations can be sustained from a weight perspective, and then from making sure we can, if it needs to be watered or weeded, serviced in any way that we can do that, and then finding the right product to make that happen. But there's a lot of spaces on campus that I think could benefit from it, and a lot of not just college campuses, but communities, facilities throughout the country that have benefited from having green roofs, both in terms of beautification of the space as well as utilities, and again, with that insulation factor involved. So I know that will be brought up later, but I want to share some of that as well. Yes.
Would these green roofs, would these green roofs turn it into a space where students could possibly sit, such as having a bench or even pathways above?
It's definitely feasible. It would depend on the location and ease of access to those locations. So I think long-term, that's something we'd look at. It's definitely, I think, something that would be great to do. There's just a lot of risk factors that have to be managed to ensure that when you're up there, it's safe to be there and that all the guardrails and safety mechanisms are in place to do that. So it is long-term, I think, something that could be done. I don't know if that's on the forefront though.
Are there any other questions for Director Reed at this time? Seeing none, thank you, Director Reed, for coming by to our meeting today. After that, we'll be moving on into announcements. Are there any announcements to be made at this time? Seeing none. Moving on into new business. Before we move on to new business, Legislator Judge Wiki, are you present or present voting?
Present.
And Legislator Mason, are you present or present voting?
Present.
All right. Now we're moving on into new business. First thing in new business is the OUSC budget for the fall semester of 2025. This is presented by President Johnson. President Johnson, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. It is that fun time of the year that you all look forward to so much. I know you don't. The budget. Woo-hoo. I don't know why you're red flagging. Sometimes I get paid and whatnot. So I will start with the part I'm sure you all care about the most beautiful compensation plan. Alright, so these are the figures I am proposing as far as compensation goes for the fall semester. I do not have SAFB's numbers in yet, but they will be in before a final version of this budget is presented to you. If you scroll down, I did a bottom-up approach with this one. So I budgeted the budget around giving you all your 5 hours back. I know how much you all enjoy having 5 hours, so there you go, you get them back. And then we've got some up hours for some of our legislative leadership folks that I hope you will all come to enjoy. And if you scroll back up, and here's some figures I'm proposing for the executive board, some of which were my ideas, some of which were not, actually. I had the speaker up an extra hour, but she recommended I take one away and give it to the director of internal affairs, so. Very, very admirable of you, Speaker DeVore, but I'm just gonna let you all read it, and if you have questions for me about it, I would love to field those. Like I said, this is the first reading, so you're gonna look at this again, and you're more than welcome to have these questions for me again, but I wanna make sure I'm making stuff clear for you now.
Legislator Snell.
The Director of Financial Affairs shows that that they would work 5 hours every week. That seems a bit low, especially in comparison to the rest of the executive board. Is there any way that we could up them to be on par with at minimum director of marketing at 8 hours a week? Or is there a reason they're so low?
So I actually modeled that number off of last year's fall budget. Last year, we budgeted to give the Director of Financial Affairs those amount of hours, so I kind of just stuck with that unless y'all had any other ideas. Now, it is possible to give them more hours, but in order for me to give them more hours, I have to take them away somewhere. So I had really pinpointed where I would deduct hours in order to increase them, but I think Speaker DeVore did mention that someone might mention that, so it is definitely worth a conversation, I will say that much. It's just more of, where do I take in order to give, basically.
Co-chairperson Liati.
Scared of this thing and feedback. Just because I know it's been an issue in the past, are we sure that that the payroll falls under 40% of the budget? Because I understand that was why the hours were lowered in the past.
Yeah, could you go to the main budget tab for me? So that 39 point blah, blah, blah number, that's the calculation of what percentage of the budget compensation makes up. Now, the bylaws, the wording is that it has to be at or around 40%. My standard practice is keep it under 40%. You don't have to worry about the 40% number. So my goal is to keep it there. Now, could you go back to the compensation page? There's one thing I forgot to mention. Now, it is a newer rule that we've enacted, but you'll notice I also included a line for the elections commissioner, because we voted that whoever holds that position should be paid for at least 3 hours a week, and I have to have appointed that person by the end of the fall semester. So this is just me accounting to do so.
Chairperson LaBella.
I did just want to comment on the giving financial affairs more hours, because that is a very new rule that was introduced after a judiciary ruling last term. This might sound really weird right now. I'm not, of course, I'm not the most experienced person to be talking about this, but from my understanding, the Director of Financial Affairs doesn't do the most amount of work. From day to day, it's mostly payroll. President Johnson, you want to comment on that?
I was going to say, yeah, for the day-to-day purposes, I know they handle a lot with payroll. Anything else they would do would usually be collaborations with other either e-board members or the legislature regarding things you want to plan that we might have to spend money on, bills you like to write to dedicate money toward things and the financial impact that might have. So I will agree that the major part of their responsibilities would be payroll, and then other things additionally throughout the week should they need, as well as attending general body meetings.
And then my second point, I know we are working with a pretty tight budget. I've looked at it, pretty extensively in my own time. And I know any amount of hours that we give the DIA, no matter what it is, will not be enough. They will always work over it. However, if there's any way we could give them more hours, I think that'd be greatly beneficial to whoever that is in the fall.
I think, so I'll go with my approach and I'll give you some options we have and I can explore whichever one you feel comfortable with. Like I said, a lot of the modeling I did was starting with the legislature first, to see if I could get y'all back to 5 hours, and then going up from there. That's how I did it, and I did it with the e-board too. So I could try to see if I can snag hours from other executive board members to do so, but I'm tapping some of them in some very tight areas. So then the question I would have to ask is, would you want me to take hours from legislative positions in order to do so? Now, this is not me saying I want to or need to, these are just the options we have to go about doing that. It's the one thing, this is why when it comes to the budget, the one thing I don't like is having to do the compensation plan. Because you want to do more for one thing, but you can't do it without taking something from someone else. So this is me saying, if y'all have a specific place you're comfortable with me taking it from, I can definitely look into doing it.
And lastly, this is a very unpopular opinion. I am going to recognize that now, and I do think that there is no way that this is going to happen, but I am in favor of legislators going down to 4.
Oh, that's interesting. This would be the first time I've actually heard someone make it. Well, now I will note, legislators currently are at 4 hours a week, so it would basically be keeping what you're currently doing. So it's more of, do you all think you would meet that extra hour per week? Or are you fine staying at what you're currently at and me, doing a little moving around for the executive board? But that's kind of one of those things I will pose to you all before I do it. Because I know it is equally unpopular, which is why I try not to do it at first. But if y'all want me to, I'm happy to.
Right, yeah, I recognize that as a very unpopular opinion, and I'm also not just saying that because I'm not subject to legislative pay. Take an hour away from me if you so choose, but I do think giving more hours to the executive is within, our greatest interest, considering the fact that the executive board historically has been the backbone of student Congress. And let's be honest, let's be real, most of our legislators barely even clock an hour per week. Seeing as last term, I got like a list every single week of all the legislators that didn't clock an hour, and it was always a fairly sized list.
And I will know that is something in future, you and the financial director will have a lot of fun haggling with each other about.
Sorry, legislator Snell?
I was just wondering why, the elections commissioner was getting paid for those last 2 weeks if their job would not be beginning until the winter term.
Yeah, so the bylaws stipulate that I have to have appointed the person by the end of the fall semester. So I just accounted for it for this budget, since I have to have appointed them, then even though technically they won't get hot and heavy till the winter. So this is just bylaw requirements, basically.
Oh, so they're not actually going to be working those hours, it would just be to know that they have to be there?
They might, I will not profess to know what the elections commissioner in the future intends to do for 2 weeks. But I just know I'm required to budget for them to be hired in this budget, and let me rephrase that statement. I'm required to apportion them separate hours for the position, and I'm required to hire the position at the end of the fall. So I'm just kind of following in with the rules, and as I do that, I can get a vibe from the elections commissioner, what they'd like to do for those last couple of weeks, or where they want that to go, this, that, and the third, because I also know, I think Chairperson Smith, LaBelle, I apologize, Chairperson LaBelle mentioned the Judiciary Committee was looking at the elections bylaws, so there might be some changes being made there that the Elections Commissioner would have to work through then. And it could just be them, getting settled into the position. Historically, the position's been held by the Director of Internal Affairs. So should that person take on that role, it would be a bit easier of a transition into that.
Advisor Miller, your sub point.
Point of information, are legislators still not be able to be paid for the potential 1 hour that they may go to a Senate meeting if they're assigned to a committee? And is that by bylaw or is that just practice?
So it is in the bylaws, legislators cannot be paid for Senate committee activity. Because the senators themselves are not paid for participating there, we don't allow ourselves to get paid. So none of us can be paid for what we do in the Senate at all. It's just a rule, it's in the bylaws, I know it's in there, but if you want, I can find a specific part for you.
And so bylaws can be changed, correct?
They
Yeah,
could.
okay. With that suggestion, be maybe that extra hour or part of the 3, 4 hours or 5 hours that legislators work, you might change that, so there's more incentive for them to be involved in committee assignments and more reason that they need to show up to go to those meetings. Just suggestion.
That's definitely a conversation we can have. I haven't actually thought about that one, but I will let speaking more move the discussion along, so I don't want to take up too much time.
Chairperson LaBelle.
Thank you very much. I did want to speak on the hours for the Elections Commissioner. If I'm correct, this was added by former Director Lehman Pace's bill at the end of the term. I advocated the entire year for a requirement that, President Johnson can confirm this. I was talking with him about this like October of last year. That like the Elections Commissioner needed to be hired by the end of the fall, just because it's very intensive and there's just so much logistics to it. And I think both me and President Johnson can agree, as two presidential candidates last time around, logistically, it was a nightmare. It was terrible for everyone involved, just actually genuinely a terrible experience. Just being involved in the elections in any way, shape, or form. And as President Johnson mentioned, because of that, the judiciary is reviewing Appendix 3, which is our elections bylaws, to make things more streamlined and also ensure that rules that don't exist aren't enforced, and make things just a lot more clear. On top of that, ensuring the Elections Commissioner is ready to go starting at the end of the fall is just so logistically important to make sure everything is going correctly and make sure the timeline is working correctly, because as a judicial inquiry was filed at the beginning of this term that is now being enforced, that we have to move up our election timeline as well to fit with what our Constitution says, because for the past couple of years, we've been running with the timeline of our new term starting on May 1st. And the inauguration that we usually have at the second to last or last general body meeting is entirely ceremonial. That's not right. We're not supposed to do that at all. It violates our Constitution. What's supposed to happen is, that I don't have the numbers memorized in front of me at the moment, so do forgive me, but it's like 2 or 3 weeks before the, two general body meetings before the end of the winter semester, the new term is supposed to start, and the inauguration is meant to not be ceremonial. It's meant to be an actual inauguration. So that we have to do that as per our rules, and the judiciary is ensuring that. So ensuring the Elections Commissioner can start and just really get going as early as possible. Beautiful idea. It's great. I fought for it. I'm glad it's here.
And Chairperson LaBelle and I were both in very strong agreement last year that we want to make sure that whoever is in charge of overseeing elections not only has time to put together the logistics of the election, but we also have to remember this person is overseeing 2 to 3 commissions, as well as an elections commission, as a validations commission, that they're getting people together to get on. So we wanna make sure they have a little bit of buffer time to get started, get the word out about those, get people to join them, so that when we get ready to participate in elections, stuff moves a lot quicker and very smoothly.
If I may, for a point of information, SAFB needs access to the compensation plan part of the sheet, and I do not know how to do that. If President Johnson may so edit the spreadsheet for that. Legislator Snow.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
All right, Chairperson LaBelle.
I do have a motion. I just foresee this being an issue. So before this does become an issue, can we extend the time by 15 minutes?
As a point of information, we are 30 seconds left on discussion on this budget.
I foresaw it.
Do I have a second to the motion? Seconded by Legislator Snow. We will extend discussion time on the OUSC budget by 15 minutes. Are there any other points or discussion on the compensation plan at this time? Legislator Snow.
Point of information, when can we expect the SAFB budget to be allocated?
Are you asking like when to expect to see it there?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get them access so they can put it in now, but you will certainly see it in the finalized version of this that I'd be asking you to vote on. So prayerfully today, but you will at least see something before next week.
Chairperson Ludwig.
If you are curious about it, I do have it on our spreadsheet, it's just not on OUSC. I'll put it in there in like 40 seconds.
If we could wait until like after the next page, we can go back and just see previous. Yeah, we just didn't update it because we didn't have access before.
Also, point of information, SAFB is a separate, we just show it because they're one of our committees, not because we actually pay out to them,
Yeah,
correct?
we don't pay their compensation, we just have to approve it as part of our plan. So then this is just, so I've worded that the way I wanted that to be worded. Yes, as a standing committee of OUSC, their compensation plan is included in our budget. But I think the note is still there, I can't remember. We do not pay it, that comes out of their own separate budget. That is entirely a them thing as far as paying. We just make note of what it is and we approve it with our own.
Legislator Snow.
If we're not paying them, why do we have to approve their budget?
I believe it's for the same reason we have to approve their bylaws and things of that sort. This is, I believe it is, I could be wrong. It is, yes, I've been informed that it is. So it's for the same reason we have to approve just about a lot of their policy decisions and things of that sort. It just kind of falls into one of those. I don't think we have an avenue in which their compensation plan gets approved without ours going in tandem with it, just by how the systems existed so far. I've been informed that I was right.
Legislator Snow.
Like, I get their system runs concurrent to ours, I guess what I'm getting at is, why do we do that? Since it feels like they've been working it. Their time has never stopped, and this kind of just slows them down.
Chairperson LaBelle.
I'll use my time to share something.
All right, co-chairperson Leotti.
It's just. It's just done because it's been in the SAFB bylaws, and because SAFB was created originally as a committee, only a committee of OUSC, that is just one of the practices that has been a thing since those early days. And it's in the SAFB bylaws, and it doesn't really take away any time from us, really. It's just more of a formality because we do plan our payrolls ahead of time, and this is just to get them sorted. We don't really tend to make changes. That was an attempt last year, but it was a little misguided, and that's about it. We don't tend to make changes to our payroll often, so it doesn't take away time from SAFB at all.
All right. Seeing as we have 10 minutes left on the discussion time and a long agenda, I will be moving forward into the fall finances portion of the
Wonderful.
budget.
Okay, now, starting with the executive office, there are, before you, anyone asks, there are a couple of donations I'm thinking about including here. I just need to talk to a couple of people about them first. So I don't include things that I'm not certain are going to happen. The food pantry, I wanted to bring this up because I spoke with their manager earlier today. So the food pantry needs help quite a bit. I think I was told they lost about 80% of their food in the flood. So I wanted to see what we could do to try to help them out, because I think they provide a very crucial service to the students of this university. And I want to see what we can do to help get them on their feet as soon as possible. Their manager is gonna come to one of our meetings as a guest speaker to talk about what it is they need and whatnot. I have $500 as a placeholder. I was talking with Scott, who's their manager, along with Blake, the coordinator of the GSC. And Blake recommended that I put whatever I was gonna put for the GSC, for the food pantry. And then when Scott actually gives me a number of what type of commitment they could use from us, then I update it to reflect that before the budget's passed. But I'm bringing this to you because it's something I'd like to do, and I wanted to A, put that on your radar, and B, get your thoughts on it. And then the election fund, that's another thing that was passed through a bill that was championed by former legislator Lyman Pace. I just have to budget for it. That's one of those things the elections commissioner is gonna have to oversee. So I have to budget for it this semester, and I believe I have to budget for it next semester as well. The next semester is when it will actually have been utilized. The partnership with the Oakland Center, that's what Chris was just here talking about, and then there's the discretionary. For internal affairs, scroll back up, we have a question.
Majority Leader Romer.
I was just going to ask, looking at both bonding and the e-board training retreat, summing up to $1,500, which is just an increase from what we've seen in previous years. Could you provide a little bit of elaboration?
Yeah, that was more so me trying to figure out, because I know we try to think of more fun things to do when it comes to bonding. And because we had a much bigger legislature when I was planning this, I wanted to try to put in enough money to make sure we could do, because usually we've either, we've gone out to lunch or dinner, or we've done something that we have to pay for everybody to do. And this is just my expectation that prices are not going to be friendly at all. But I am willing to lower that number because it's very possible that I was just mindlessly dreaming when I put that number in there. But I always like to think that if I'm gonna do something in which I'm feeding 30 people, it's going to cost a pretty penny. But I am open to suggestions of lowering that expectation if you all would like me to.
Can I also ask, will bonding for e-board be separate from the legislature?
Yeah, I'm gonna lower that number too, because what I had planned for that has changed. So it's more of a thing for me and the e-board. It's kind of like a bonding thing. Sure, it's more of a professional training thing I'd like us to do. Because I was talking with Director Demond about this the other day. So I'd like to, get the e-board together and actually, give them some time to get to know each other and to bond as a unit and as a board so that everybody knows who does what, how do we work with each other to do this, that, and the third, and how that all works. Now, my initial plan, which since we've gotten this, have costed a lot more, because this is just the possibility that we might like do food or something for this event, but I'm lowering that number too when I go back to the office today. So like I said, the OUSC general bonding, I can lower that number. That's just my expectation that things are gonna cost a lot of money, and I want us to be prepared for that. But I also know when Vice President Matthews returns, it'll kind of be her thing to plan bonding, and I did tell her that it's a number I've put, but it's likely that that number might change. So if you all have alternative ideas, I'm more than happy to reflect that.
Yeah, I would just say me personally, I would like to see that number decrease
No,
just
that's fine.
slightly. I understand cost and all of that, but
Yeah, I like to think it's better to prepare to have more than to have less sometimes, but I definitely can see where you're going with that one, and I can agree, I can definitely trim it some, just to make it easier to digest.
Okay, thank you. With that, I yield.
Legislator Snell?
I was just wondering, with the GSC donation, I know in, I believe, our bylaws, it is stated we have to give 250 to the GSC. How is that going to impact how much is we're able to give to the food pantry? And if that does impact, is there any way we can pull that money from bonding to go more to the food pantry?
I don't, so I know the bylaws, if I'm incorrect, and someone please inform me, but I understand the bylaws say we have to give a minimum of $200 or $200 to $250. I usually put it at that $500 mark in case something comes up that they need a bit more from us than that 200 number, so that we're in a better position to offer that to them, since, historically, we've been there for them when they need us to be. I don't think giving more money, I don't think that should impact giving more money to the pantry. I don't know how much money the pantry actually needs. So I don't want to make overcommit us when we don't know what we're committed to. So I think it's more about just where that money is coming from. If we have to pull from bonding, I'm more than happy to take the money I trim from the bonding number and put toward the food pantry donation. But I was wanting to I want to wait till I have a stronger number from their manager before I start pulling money from here, there, and the third. So that, like I said, that $500 is a placeholder until I get their final number. And then once I do, that's when I'll start pulling from places to see what we can do to help them out. Because I'd like them to get on their feet as soon as humanly possible, so that they can be ready for the academic year to start.
Seeing as there is 4 minutes left in discussion time, I ask that discussion be limited until after the finance budget has been read in its entirety.
Motion to extend
Motion to extend by what time?
20 minutes.
Motion to extend by 20 minutes raised by Chairperson Lavelle, seconded by Legislator Snell. We will now extend 20 minutes, and we now have 24 minutes on discussion time. Once again, President Johnson, you will have the floor. Actually, sorry, I have a question from Co-Chairperson Liotti.
Let's say if you've been given edit access to the.
I'm trying to, the sheet itself is locked and it won't let me.
You have to go to permissions and then
Well, it says I have you as an editor on the thing.
it's the individual thing. You go to protect sheet.
Point of information, can I just protect the sheet?
Yeah, don't do that before me. It's not letting me do it on my phone. I was trying to
Set
do it,
permission.
I was trying to do it on my phone, but it wouldn't let me.
Oh. Maybe.
Right click.
There we go. And then you add that safety.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I was trying to do that on my phone, but it won't let me do it on my phone. I was really trying over here, and she doesn't let me. It's okay. We'll learn to live. Could you go back to the? So under internal affairs, I kept the standard things we budgeted for in the past, like 2 internal affairs budgets. Naturally, more office supplies, office improvements, actually, I can get lowered because I was just informed that the number I was expecting to have to pay for that was not it. So there were some ports in the legislative office that were out of commission. And I was informed by the Oakland Center that if they had to do the extensive repair that we wanted them to do, it would cost like $1,000. And I found out today that it is not going to cost $1,000 because they just fixed it, and it's only going to cost like $120. So I'm going to go back, but I found this out after I'd already submitted the budget to the agenda. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to change that number to reflect that. The other $600 is the $600 we usually keep for office purposes when we have to buy new things, new fans, new filters, things of that sort. Blue books and Scantrons, naturally. Name tags and desk plates, I'm going to put more toward, because here's the reason why. I don't know if y'all know how much those things cost, because they are not cheap. The desk plates alone are $23 a piece. And the name tags are like $16.50 a piece. So just to give a reference, and we buy a lot of them. I have to buy more because Director DeMond's gonna need them, the rest of the board's gonna need them, and the new SAFE folks are gonna need them. So they are costly, and I'm update that budget to reflect that too. Financial affairs, I put what we've always had there, which is just for alternate vendors. Should we find a vendor who, I think it's if it's someone who engages in more sustainable practices, but if they cost a little bit more, that fund is there so that we can use that vendor. And instead, student advocacy, I'm missing here on here, that will be added. Just a few things I had put under here that to expect to see in the fall for us to participate in. Naturally, the premenstrual product initiative. Harvest Fest is new. It's a collaboration we're going to be doing with the WXOU. I heard it's a very fun event that they put on that a lot of people come to, which will be totally tubular. And then there's haunted hallways, which I would like to see be like the funnest event this year, because we did really good with haunted hallways last year. I think we almost actually got like some award for it from OSI. I can't remember, I could be wrong about that. But I think it'll be a great year for haunted hallways. It'll be really fun. And then I think Speaker DeVore added the LGBTQIA ad hoc action committee. Typically, when it comes to task forces and some committees, we set some money aside in case something comes up in which they need that funding for. I will emphasize that it is a legislative committee, but it's just budgeted under the Director of Student Advocacy. I did tell Speaker DeVore she might want to mention that as well.
I did want to raise another point of information. Should the REIS committee be passed today, that will also be added with the same number in the budget today.
The executive platform director, I didn't have much under yet, except the AAUP events that we're gonna put on this year, which I can email Amy to get in line of when those are happening so we can plan best. Over the next week, I'm gonna think more about what I'm going to be tasking them to do and how much money that will require. Because I think something I want them to get involved in is actually being budgeted under a legislative initiative. So I didn't see need to put it on the budget twice. Now I am going to stop yapping. I'm gonna let Director Demond present the sustainability budget, which I know you are all so excited to hear about.
All right. So first I want to state that this budget will be higher than the winter budget. Most of my initiatives were fall-based, so I just want to keep that in mind. First of all, the maintenance of the pollinator gardens. First, that was, I asked Javier, the president of PCO, for the number he'd like for that. And I also at the bottom have maintenance of the biodiversity gardens. Did not know those were two separate things. We have both listed just in case, by numbers per the bylaws.
I just wanted to raise one point of information about the maintenance of biodiversity gardens. This was a bill passed in the 2023-2024 administration that was never added to the bylaws. So it's actually something we've never done in its existence. So this will be the first time that we have budgeted for this since the bill was passed in the 2023, a bill passed by former Speaker Ian Allen.
You're welcome for finding it.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, that's really helpful. So Beaver Fest, we all love Beaver Fest. It was 600 last year, so I increased it a little bit. After talking to Nick Skinner, our previous Director of Sustainability, he wanted to increase it more, but I felt we could reuse a lot of the things we used last year. I have the beaver costume, I have the beaver cutouts, I have stickers, we're gonna use it all. Rain barrels, I talked to Director Chris Reed about this, a lot cheaper than we thought it was gonna be. But basically, their rain barrels will help with the 5-word F word we're not supposed to talk about. So this would hopefully limit doing that again, and that wouldn't flood the basement like that and stop us from working down there. He's not here anymore. I can say it. So these are 275-gallon rain barrels. Working with Clipper Watershed, I just got the numbers today for how much it will cost. So I'll probably have to adjust like $10, maybe more, so that I can actually get it here, because they are like 40 by 40 by 40 feet large.
I just wanted to know, when the water intrusion event occurred, that was the day I had noticed that she put the rain barrels on the budget. So the day after, I'm like, well, isn't it mighty convenient that we have a really strong case to do something about rainwater now? So I would, because I thought that was pretty funny.
And with that is also the rain garden we're thinking would also stop the water intrusions. So that one, I want to include the garden either by Bear Lake or the Honors College like we've discussed. And the only thing that makes it a rain garden would make it a little bit deeper to hold the water for a little while, so it doesn't go straight into the storm drain, into rivers, or on our property or in parking lots. So that's great. The green roof, okay, talk to Chris Reed about this. He did one at Vanderbilt and he helped me figure out the numbers. The entire thing costs like $25,000. He wanted at least $5,000 from us to do so. So I put 6, hopefully that could cover and help us do it together. We're not sure where we want to do it yet. We want to make sure it's safe for everyone. We need someone to make sure that it can actually hold all the soil on top of each of our buildings. So hopefully we're talking about O'Dowd, like right over there. Or maybe somewhere, just somewhere that people can come and see and donors can see that we're actually doing sustainable acts. That. Sustainability month. So I had a Google form that students filled out and people filled out. Thank you so much for doing that. So I had a couple ideas what we're going to do for that, but for now, I kept it with not Beaverfest things. October, such as a movie, maybe a trail walk, a birding event, anything we like to do for that. So I only increased it a little bit, not too much, because we have a lot going on that month. Golf course opposition. So I just learned about this like a week ago. They want to put a full another course. I think it's like 13 holes. Yeah. On the preserve we have, because they always want to get rid of our preserve. So I want to put something out there to tell people what is going on. I don't know why we're doing this, but that's what they want to do. So posters of what they're doing, how much they're spending on this, where they're doing it. I want to start that as soon as possible. Organic farms, an organic farm. I reached out to Dr. Hansen. She reached out today. She's looking, they bought some tents for the camps and classes. She wants some walls and stakes to hold them in place. This was the number she gave me. I have the receipts as well if you guys would like to see, so I just put that there, that's what she asked for. Releasing Eastern monarch butterflies. So I'm super excited about this too. Something that other directors wanted to do. It's just a lot going on in the fall, and you can only release monarchs the beginning to end of September. Other than that, it gets too cold for them, they can't fly. So I worked with PCO to talk about it, where to get them from. This would just cover with releasing these butterflies, also maybe a little teaching about why we need them, why they're endangered, and to not touch them, do not touch monarch butterflies. And then also maybe some cider and donuts for people. Very simple, very fun. A November event, I'm not sure what I want to do with November, but either we do a night hike like we did last year with a bat hike and owl hike, or we do a bird hike, or work with NASO because it is Native American Heritage Month. I would like to make sure that is known. And then that's it. Any questions, Niels?
Okay, I'll go through the rest of it. Marketing, we've got, so general handouts, flyer stuff we'll need, and in fact, I think what I'll do actually, we can kind of incorporate Director Demond's new advocacy plan in with this. I would like, I just learned about this new golf course thing today, and is it very surprising to me as to where they want to put the thing? No. I just will note, I thought it was very comical that y'all red flagged the golf course before you even knew it was going. So I just tell y'all just might have some version of golf, which is funny. But yeah, other than that, we've got printer paper, which we need. And then I know Speaker DeVore and Chairperson Valdez have been working on another giveaway event like we did last winter. So we budgeted to do that every other month, put some money toward that, and that's what that covers. I will answer as many questions about that as I can if you have them. Otherwise, I would direct you towards Speaker DeVore and Chairperson Valdez.
As a point of information, that giveaway would be in the month of September and likely the month of November. It would be taking place during what I plan to do, weekly tabling. It's mainly to just advertise OUSC as a whole. It's something that Chairperson Valdez championed at the end of last year. Trying to push out OUSC. She used it to push out the social media last year, and I would like to incorporate that with it. They'll be working with my student engagement task force, which I'll talk about a little bit during the legislative initiative section.
Well, with that, I will yield to Speaker DeVore to present the legislative initiatives budget.
Legislator Snell, did you have a point? So.
No, I just wanted to point out also the biodiversity site actually just got recognized by our alumni, which makes it very odd.
Yeah, it's. I don't know what I'm trying to say politely. One would think, one would definitely think so, yeah. That's.
All right, you got time for me to talk about a little bit of the legislative initiatives that y'all have told me about. I will say first before I continue, if you do have any more legislative initiatives that you do not see on here, please talk to me because I would like to put them in the budget so we can get you a little bit of money just so you can run your event. I'll just run through some of the events that we are doing. I'll get to this right when I'm talking. Just some of the events that we have planned at the moment. The first up is Meet the Reps. This is a standard kind of money we do for Meet the Reps every semester. It's just getting to know a little bit of the OUSC legislature. I talked a little bit got a little idea from Legislator Snell earlier about doing potentially tie-dye during it, which I do like quite a bit. I'm still workshopping what exactly that event will look like, but I'll be working on that. It will likely take place about October, November. Next up is Chairperson Valdez Financial Literacy Workshop. Okay, I can speak today. I got $800 for it. It'll be once per month. She's planning on having it twice, probably again, September, November. It's just for food and running the event. It's just getting some folks to talk about, getting to know your finances a little bit better, because, as college students, some of us need a little bit of help with some of that stuff. Next up was a Majority Leader Brummers Ballot Initiative event. It's bringing in some of the people from different ballot initiatives planning on going up or being worked on for the next election. It's going towards food for that event. If you have any more questions on that, I'll direct you to Majority Leader Brummer. Next up, the Student Engagement Task Force. You see it's a task force that has a little bit more than the standard 150. So for this task force specifically, I'm planning on using this money to work towards funding collaborations with events, just pushing student engagement, because as I've kind of talked to Death about during legislature meetings, nobody cares about student congress. I want to change that. So something I'll be working towards the entire year is getting more involved with clubs, getting more involved with the student body, because I think we should be able to represent the student body that we say we represent. And outside of that is the standard 150 for the last three task forces. Task forces that myself and Vice President Matthews have worked towards are the Housing Support Task Force, the Safety Task Force, and the Mental and Physical Health Task Force. I will yield to any questions at this time. Legislator Snell.
Sorry, I know I've been asking a lot of questions with the budget. President Johnson, I know we talked earlier. Can we just go into a bit more detail as to why the sensory friendly room isn't in the legislative initiatives? Or why we can't set the money aside for it?
I wanted to wait to put money in for that specific thing when I have a clear idea of what our commitment is gonna be like with it. So once I know where it's going to be and what it is we're gonna be able to do with that space, then I would feel more comfortable including something about cost wise, because I don't want us to, shoot at a number and it either not be enough or be too much for what we actually need. So I wanted us to be in a position where we know what's happening with it before we start put money in it, but I definitely intend for it to be something that is included. I just need more information before we include it.
Chairperson Lavelle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just because of the nature of that project, it seems like it'd be exponentially more prudent just to amend the budget later on in the semester when we have a better idea of what we're looking at, but with that,
I will say with these types of things, what ends up happening typically, I want things to happen at this speed. The collegiate bureaucracy causes things to happen at this speed. So while I'm ready to move forward with it and I'm ready to get it done, I'm the only one on that limb. So I sometimes have to wait for them to catch up and to make sure we're all on the same page before I can say, all right, fine, cool, let's do it now. Because, you know, not everyone gets to move as quickly as we do. It's not fun.
Majority Leader Roberts.
I just wanted to mention this. First of all, I'd like to preface it by saying that I love everything in the sustainability budget. I'm really excited to see all of it there. A little bit of my hesitancy just comes with how much it all sums up to. Seeing that it's $17,000 just makes me a little bit nervous. And I also just wanted to touch on the student organic farm. You know, just for historical context, we have given them a lot of money in the past. I know they need it. I've toured the farm myself and I've talked to Dr. Hansen and I understand how much the need is there. Just gives me a little bit of hesitancy, but that's all. I just wanted to voice that.
Yeah, I was speaking with Director DeMond about this just earlier today. And I've noted even at one time in a row, we've given the farm a lot more money than this, but it's still quite a chunk of change. And we're gonna meet later to look at what it is they want, because I want to know, we just gave them a large amount of money in donations over the winter semester. So it's all, like I said, I'm always fine helping the farm, but I just want to see what's gonna cost $5,000 for walls for tents, and how big are these tents? How many tents do they have that it's coming out to $5,000? Because I know in the past, when it comes to giving money to the farm, we kind of usually just give them what they tell us they need. But I am on the same tip that Majority Leader Bromer is on. I would like a little bit more of a tell of why. Why? But with that.
Legislator Snell.
So going to the sustainability budget, is there any way possible that we could get a representative from the farm to go into not only why these things are costing so much, but also why the farm is costing us so much? And second to that, is there any way we can get possibly an event going about the golf course to people both who are championing for this, how do I say that? Project of theirs, as well as possibly some representatives from the biodiversity platform, such as I know our biology department has gotten a lot of praise for it. It's like, it seems very odd to have with how well the biodiversity plot is going right now. With that, I yield.
First, I love the idea of meeting with the farm. I just heard from them, my email was, I think, 2 p.m. today. So I messaged her a few times, haven't heard much. I completely agree. I would love to talk to all of them to know why they need this much money. I just have the email receipts and without much context. So I just put it on here to bring it up. I'm glad we're talking about it. And
before we go to questions, I will say, we would have had an allocation to the farm regardless, because our bylaws require us to do so. But I think it's a very good question as to, why this much now? When we just gave you this much, like 2 months ago? It's a good question. I'm not trying to dispel you from asking, I'm just making it.
Legislator Christian.
I can provide some context on the organic farm stuff. I was actually there this morning, helping prepare for that tent.
Perfect.
The tent itself what it's for is because they have no meeting places for like any events that take place at the farm, which includes like a lot of things that they want. They need a meeting place. Currently they meet in a greenhouse, which is like always 95 degrees, which is a bit of a problem. However, on the other side, I very strongly agree that like that is a lot of money. I know from experience where I passed that bill where we gave them money last semester. Dr. Hansen likes to have very nice, expensive products, and it might be possible to talk it down, ideally.
Chairperson LaBelle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I am personally like fine with that amount being spent on the student organic farm, that's just me, but it would be nice to get that down, and if, I think it'd be prudent to invite Professor Hansen in here to be a guest speaker the second reading of this budget, just for the specific reason, without you.
Advisor Miller.
I would also suggest possibly if they could provide a budget, because they also do the farm stand and raise money as well, and just see what do they do with the funds that they do raise, so that you can see how they utilize the funds that we've already given, plus the funds that they are asking for now, and what they do with the money that they have raised for themselves as well. Thank you.
I will say, what I think this will end up being, I don't know if it'll be us just giving them the money to buy it. Typically, we purchase it and give it to them, but, so I'm thinking that's probably what we'll do this time. I agree, I'd like to have someone from the farm come and tell us, where did you find it that it cost this much for that? But I also liked, Advisor Miller's point of, let's just get the vibe of what our historical commitment to the farm has looked like, what it's produced. Now, I've been to the farm, so it's one of those things where you gotta kind of see it to believe it, so we're able to do a lot, but it might be nice for y'all to have it spelled out on paper.
All right, discussion time has once again expired. I will not be allowing any motions to extend this time, as we have already extended it twice, and we have a lot more to get to on this agenda, and this budget will be read a second time here very shortly. With that, we'll be moving on throughout new business. With that, we have CR 6811. This is presented by Legislator Lunger. This is the first reading and is eligible to be voted on upon this meeting. Legislator Lunger, you do have the floor.
Hi, can you show the bill on the screen?
It is up there.
Hold on, I don't see it. I'll just go into my Google Docs and get it. Oh, I see it now. Hold on. This is a resolution to encourage the OU College of Mathematics and Science to create evening, hybrid, and virtual class options for math and science courses. Whereas almost all courses in the College of Mathematics and Science have in-person classes, and several of them meet in the morning or early afternoon, 2 to 3 days per week. Having all math and science courses meet several times per week and early in the day makes it difficult for math and science majoring students that work or have transportation issues to pursue their degree. Some students are forced to drop classes or even switch majors due to work schedules or transportation issues. Evening classes would allow math and science students to attend class in person after work. Hybrid and remote classes would, hold on. Hybrid and remote classes would be beneficial to commuter students that live far from campus or students that are unable to drive. Let it hereby be enacted by the members of the legislature and the executive board of the Oakland University Student Congress for the betterment of the campus and student life. Oakland University Student Congress supports and calls on the College of Mathematics and Science to open up evening, hybrid, and virtual classes options for math and science courses. Does anyone have any questions?
Legislator Mace.
So my question is, like, I'm not skeptical of it, but have Have you already talked to the faculty about how the class schedule works? Because I'm not sure if they're able to change like what times they do it, but also like as how do I say this? As someone who went to a different university who had online science and math courses, a lot of people tended to actually just fail the online ones or not sign up for them because they weren't confident in being able to study online. Not that it's a bad idea for people who can't do it, but how, if we put this out there, how probable is it for, some of the harder online courses, especially for the engineering students?
Well, we could set up a meeting with faculty to discuss evening and virtual options for math and science courses. We could meet with some of the professors in the math and science department. But yeah, I actually, for the virtual courses, they could have Zoom calls and they could have scheduled class times, and they could also have tutoring and live homework help for students, even for engineering. That might work.
Chairperson LaBelle?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually add on to Legislator Mays' point just a little bit, because in my experience, having passed a fair amount of legislation, resolutions calling upon the administration or somebody to do something, things can turn a little sour if we don't talk with these people first before passing this sort of legislation. I do think it would be prudent to talk with officials from the College of Mathematics and Science and maybe officials from AAP to really talk all this over first and see how they would receive this. Because sometimes when we do pass these sort of things without talking to them first, it's seen as hostile. We just don't want to come off that way. With that, I yield.
Yeah, we can schedule a meeting with faculty in the math and science department. We can set it up soon. This is the first reading, so we don't have to vote today.
Legislator Snell?
Point of information, actually, faculty themselves cannot determine when they take their classes or what options are available to them. That's handed down to them from both the chair of the department and the college itself. So really, this would be more of a question towards higher up administration and not just the faculty. Furthermore, a lot of their online hybrid courses, Oakland has ran math and science in the past through those formats. It's just been proven that they have really high rates of failure to a point where the school found it more prudent to shift them to in-person based classes. Last time I checked, I believe it was like a 45% fail rate or something like really ridiculous. And Oakland University is already very well known to have a very poor math department, sadly. So I do agree with the idea behind it. I do think that logistically, we do need more options for classes, be it evening, be it hybrid, be it online, for accessibility reasons. However, I do know the math and science department specifically has had problems with it in the past. With that, I yield.
President Johnson?
I will say, and when ideas like this are things I'm more than happy to take to like the provost, because I've seen she's been very receptive to student-led initiatives, especially with regard to academics, but I also want to echo Chairperson LaBelle's point that if we don't talk to the faculty, it might not go as well as we hope it will. So we want to make sure, I recognize that there are going to be times when something we want may diverge from what the faculty is in the mood to do, but out of respect for our long-standing, collaboration with faculty, especially the AAUP, I would recommend we talk with them, get their thoughts on it, see what they think, and it might help us if they know more about how these courses have operated in the past, why we don't have as many of them now as we do. So I want to make sure we bring them in as well so that it can help inform us of the position we take, as well as, when we present this to the higher ups, because if I take this to the provost, 9 times out of 10, the first person she's going to go to is the dean in charge of all of this. So we want to make sure we've fleshed out what we want this to look like before we take it to the high up people and ask them to take it on too.
Legislator Mays, you still have a point?
No, it's pretty much said.
Okay. Legislator Snell?
Is parliamentarian Bella on call? I just had a quick parliamentary procedure. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Speaker Ford. So is there a parliamentary procedure for us to put this bill like on pause for a second reading to possibly get some time to talk with the faculty and dean of the College of Math and Science, and more importantly, see if we can even get them on as supporter, different faculty members and the dean to get on as a supporter to the resolution before we take it to the provost?
Parliamentarian Bella?
Right, so getting supporters, that would probably be the responsibility of the person writing the bill, but we could you can postpone indefinitely or definitely. And if you'd like to postpone definitely, we can postpone it till the next meeting or the meeting after that, whichever you choose.
Chairperson LaBelle?
Motion to postpone indefinitely.
Motion to postpone indefinitely raised by Chairperson LaBelle. Do I have a second to the motion? Seeing none, we'll be moving on in discussion. Legislator Snell?
Can we postpone it definitely to not next meeting, but the meeting afterwards?
You want a motion?
Yeah, I think that would work. I can do a second reading then. Would the meeting after be in the fall semester?
Yes. Yes.
Can I have a point of information really quickly?
Chairperson LaBelle?
I don't think we've said it yet this meeting, but there will be an emergency GBM next week. So I do believe that the reason why I wanted to postpone indefinitely, so we didn't have a time period on it, so we could just get it up when we get to it. Yeah.
If I may offer a point of information about that emergency GBM, it's that special GBM. Okay, so a bill later on the agenda is presented by Chairperson Ludwig with SAFB. SAFB is in currently a very bad financial position after the category limits were removed in a bill at the end of last administration. I believe if Chairperson Ludwig could correct me, they're currently about to be at 41% of last year's budget. Just losing a lot of money because I believe they've had multiple requests of their entire budget, which used to not happen because of red tape provided by the category limits. Due to this budgetary emergency, together with Chairperson Valdez, we'll be calling a special GBM next Wednesday. Location is to be determined. However, it could possibly be in, I think we have a reservation in Lake Huron room. However, it will possibly be virtual. I'll let President Johnson cover that when we get to it. But that is the situation there. That is why we're currently going to call a special GBM next week. With that, we'll be going on to the topic of CR 6811. Is there any other points of discussion or any motions at this time? Majority Leader Brummer.
I was just going to say, I am more supportive of postponing indefinitely, only because I know working with department chairs and getting meetings with them can sometimes be quite a lengthy process. So I don't want to set a timeline on, oh, we're going to go over it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks if we aren't able to get a meeting by then that accommodates everybody's schedule, just as a point of information. With that, I yield.
Chairperson LaBelle.
With that, I would like to propose once again a motion to postpone indefinitely.
Motion raised again to postpone indefinitely, raised by Chairperson LaBelle. Do I have a second to the motion? Seconded by Legislator Snell. With that, we'll be postponing CR 6811 indefinitely.
You have to ask if there's any counters.
Oh, are there any counters to the motion? I apologize. Seeing none, once again, CR 6811 will be postponed indefinitely. Legislator Snell.
Just a quick question, since it is postponed indefinitely, how would we go about coming back to it? I don't feel fully comfortable putting this to rest without having that guarantee it will get cycled back to.
As a point of information, a bill that has been postponed indefinitely, which must be resubmitted to the steering chair to be put on the next agenda. It will just be put on the next agenda at both the steering chair and the presenter's discretion.
All right, thank you.
With that, we'll be moving on in new business. In new business, we have CB 6807. This is presented by Chairperson Ludwig. This is the first reading and is not eligible to be voted on at this meeting.
Okay, hey guys, this is about the announcement that was just made about the emergency meeting. So, as most of you guys know, at the beginning of, when was it? It was in March. The category limits were lifted for all organizations. And a lot of organizations took advantage of the removal of the category limits, which is good. We do want clubs to spend all their money as much as possible. But we found that we were getting a lot of requests that were more than $1,000 or clubs that were spending more than half of their budget. And so this bill is to put the category limits back on the table for clubs. So this will put all of our category limits just as they were before, exactly as written. It would make our food and speakers be 3/10, 30% of our budget. It would make our equipment 4/10, 40% of the overall budget. It would make giveaways, it would make giveaways 1/10 of our budget, and we are also changing the name of giveaways to promotional items because that better fits how our clubs use those items, and it helps clubs be more clear with what those items are to be used for. It will make the conference 2/10 or 20% of the budget. And we would also like to add that that an interim chairperson may not write or put up bills to vote during OUSC meetings because these category limits were lifted by an interim chair that only had, I believe, one board member at the time, but I don't quote me on that, I'm not entirely sure. So for some information, over the summer, more than 10 organizations spent more than half their budget. Most of them spent at least $1,500 of the $3,000 budget. And last summer, only 3 organizations went over half of their budget. So that's an increase of more than 300%. If you could go to copy of prediction finance tracker. So me and my team, we ran the numbers for what our money should be. This is the most likely scenario. We took our budget for the summer. So those are our actual numbers. They are slightly unupdated. They don't have the things that we approved today on them, but that's only $1,000 of approvals. And I divided those numbers by last year's numbers to determine how much they increased, and then I multiplied how much we allocated last year in the fall and winter to estimate those. I also did the same thing to the allocation to estimate the allocation increase, and I used maximum payroll for fall and winter. And these numbers do not include any other spending. They do not include equipment, special initiatives, bonding, things like that. This is only allocation of payroll. And so all of those numbers came to 120,000, where we started this semester with about 288,000, which makes it 40% of our last year. So while we do have funding this year, based on these numbers, if we were to do the same thing next year, we would run out of funding about 1 month into the fall. If you could go to the predictions finance tracker. So this number is not likely, but I want to show it to you. Because it shows how small things can have huge impacts on our budget. This is the exact same calculation, except for I did not take into account the difference between our $4,000 to our $3,000. I made this prediction before we lowered it. And so that $1,000 doesn't sound like a lot to clubs, but it helps us a ton. We have almost 300 organizations. If every single organization spent all $3,000, they would spend $810,000. That's a lot of money. And we only have about 250,000 right now. So this number was, I think it might be slightly more accurate to how clubs would spend more of their money. Because if 3 new presidents come in and their org's never spent any money and they say, wow, we can spend all of our money. And they each spend $3,000, that's $12,000 on our end. And it's a lot of money that only 3 people can make. So that's the presentation. Do you guys have any questions about the numbers? How this is effective, things like that?
Majority Leader Brummer.
So I just had a clarifying question, but without the limits, I mean, obviously clubs still get that same amount that, what is it currently? Is it 3,000?
Yes, so our limit for the fall is $3,000. It has not been decided for the winter, just in case we need to lower it further. It would either be $2,000 or $3,000 though. And clubs are limited by the categories, and then if they have something they really want to do, the Meadowbrook Fall, Signifies Pig Roast, things like that, they are able to submit a waiver. It is just a Google form, and they must have a hearing with us. And then if, you know, we have the funds and we like and we think that they need or could make good use of the money, they would get their funds. And it does deter people from using all their funds, but it's not incredibly difficult to do.
So, yeah, that was just my clarifying point. It's not that, you know, it's not the money piece of it, it's the fact that clubs are spending their money quicker.
Yes.
That you are receiving the allocation from tuition to make up
Yes.
for all. Okay, thank you, I yield.
Chairperson LaBelle.
Thank you very much. I'm a massive supporter of this bill. I'm listed as a co-sponsor. I didn't do anything important. I just made the bill look pretty. I believe when these category limits were removed last semester, I voted in favor of it. I don't believe we as a body were properly educated on what the effects of that could be, nor did I believe the person presenting that were properly educated on what the effects could be. The category limits, in my belief, are a necessary red tape to make it so clubs that may or may not necessarily need to spend that money. Essentially, I worded everything I wanted to say wrong, but what I did want to say is clubs that really need to spend that money are going to go through the red tape. They're going to get the money. However, clubs that may not necessarily need it are maybe going to be deterred by the red tape because they don't need it. So I think this is an excellent change, and I am very happy to get this passed as soon as possible.
Legislator Shadaro, just love the point. President Johnson.
No, I did have a chance to speak with Chairperson Ludwig a little bit before today's meeting, just so that I could get an understanding of the numbers, because I hadn't seen them when she initially presented this to me. So I told her that as long as the board and their advisor over at OSI are all on the same page about what needs to happen and the way to go forward, and I'm gonna back them up as far as I can go, and from what I've seen that has happened. I know one of the cons of leadership is that at times you're gonna make a decision that some people aren't going to like. Unpopular decisions happen all the time. Some club presidents might not be pleased with category limits returning, but I did remind her that she has an obligation to make sure that SAFB as a whole remains financially sound to support all organizations. And sometimes she's gonna have to do things that people don't like in order to do so. That happens, there's no way around it, it's just what it is. So I said, I know that it's a solution that we can work with for now, and it might mean we have to have some meetings in the future to figure out other stuff to help prevent this from becoming a problem again. But I just wanted to clarify that I will support Chairperson Ludwig in doing this, because I think she's done the proper due diligence to ensure that doing this will help solve the problem that they're facing. She's gone about it correctly, she did a couple more predictions than I would have done actually, so I have to give her kudos for there. And she's involved the necessary people, so I will give her my support and yield the floor.
Advisor Miller, do you still have a point?
You made a statement that student organizations take advantage of this.
Yes, well, those are not the words I used, but more organizations, about 300% more than last summer, went above half of their budget than they did last year. And of course, they took advantage of it. You know, we raised the limits and they want to spend money on things that they want to do, and that's great. But we don't want to spend all of our money on one organization's giveaways.
And the power of these decisions are in the hands of SAB. It's not the student organizations. The power is you can approve or you can deny all or portions of the allocation. So I just want to make sure that you are not putting student organizations in a wrong light by
No, of
saying
course
they're
not.
taking advantage of this. They are submitting an allocation that they could have submitted by virtue of what the legislators voted on. But I understand what you're saying here, but I also want to make sure student organizations are not at fault if allocating what they could allocate for.
Right.
Thanks.
Yes, and I would like to be a little bit more transparent about these things, you know, this is SFB's fault for removing these category limits in the first place. Of course, you know, if I were president, I would be spending all of my money if we didn't have the category limits. And I'm not, if I said anything that implied I put blame on the organizations, I do not. And we have talked about this a lot. This is about Marcus's point kind of, but we have talked with Dana about what needs to be done, and Dana agreed that we do need to curb spending at some point. But the only other alternative that we saw besides the category limits was to stop funding entirely once we reach a threshold. And my whole board agrees that it is more fair and equitable to all student organizations to have these category limits instead of selling one club that has an event at the end of the semester that they can't have an event because our budget was not set up in a way that allowed them to do so.
Chairperson LeBeau?
Thank you. I have 2 points. I just wanted to, I'm not gonna try and speak for you here, but I'm gonna try and word it in a way that makes sense. I believe the term taking advantage of was not used in a negative connotation of like a manipulation sort of way. It was used in a positive connotation of this is an opportunity and we're going to take it sort of way. And secondly, as a former club president and a current club treasurer, I believe this is completely necessary. I'm just gonna say again, this needs to be passed, in my opinion. With that, I yield.
Legislator Snell?
As a past treasurer of an org, now a president of an org, I'll be honest, last year I didn't quite comprehend the sheer magnitude of what removing those limitations would have been, but now seeing both the numbers in front of us and also hearing, for example, my club, we only do one event every year, and it is at the end of the winter semester. Fun fact, I actually had to walk out of reading the election results to a point I almost missed hearing that I did win this seat because I had to go run that event. So to hear that because we could possibly not have the limits in place would mean we wouldn't have that event at all is a pretty scary thing. So I'm in full agreement that we should probably put the limits back in place.
Are there any other points of discussion on CB 6807 at this time? All right, once again, a special GBM has been called by Chairperson Valdez to read this bill a second time. Next week, next Wednesday at 5 o'clock at the normal GBM time. Location is TBD, but will likely be virtual. I'll let President Johnson speak on that a little bit.
We luckily had a room reservation already for that date. They moved us to meeting rooms 129 to 130. I just asked them to give me room 128 to go along with that. Now, I know, I don't like it either. I tried to get the gold rooms, but they were booked, okay? So it's more than likely we will have it there, and I'll make sure we have it set up we used last time we were in there.
Legislator Lunger.
Why are we having the emergency GBM?
Once again, it is to pass this, to read this bill a second time as it is in a budgetary emergency for SAFB at the moment. We do need to have 2 consecutive readings of it, so they would like it to be passed soon, and it has been called by Chairperson Valdez for that reason. Legislator Snell.
Point of inquiry, what's gonna happen to the legislative meeting that was scheduled for that time, or did it get pushed back?
Currently, it is on hold. I am open to rescheduling it at the moment. However, I have not picked a date for that yet. Advisor Miller.
Point of information, when you call an emergency meeting, is that solely for the one topic? It is not a full meeting?
It's been called as a full meeting as I've been made aware, just as far as I've been made aware by Chairperson Valdez. Chairperson LaBelle.
Just as a point of information, further on the topic which we're discussing, as per the SAFB bylaws, they can institute a policy, a temporary policy on a semesterly basis, which, if I'm not wrong, they have done with category limits. Yeah. So at the moment they are back, but only till the end of would it be to the end of the fall funding period or?
So the category limits were added a couple of weeks ago, and they have been instilled in our first training. And that would be a temporary thing until the end of the fall semester.
Legislator Snell.
Is there any way to switch that emergency meeting to strictly focusing on this? I feel like it would be pertinent to prioritize this above anything else at the moment.
I will have to talk to Chairperson LaBelle about that, as we do have some bills on, and including the budget on a second reading. I am unaware as to if that would have to be included in the consecutive reading, and if that would have to be read at that meeting. Otherwise, I would be more than open to it. Chairperson LaBelle.
Okay, so there's a couple different ways we can interpret this. In order for us to pass bills, including the budget, they have to be 2 consecutive readings. We can interpret the emergency GBM as do not count towards that. That doesn't really make much sense. However, what we can do is ensure that this bill would be the very first thing on the agenda. And do I think it's a good idea to have that GBM be strictly garnered towards this bill? Yes. I also do think it is a good idea to fit what we already have, that will be going up at that next meeting anyway, into that GBM after this bill, just in the interest of getting things done before the fall semester starts. Because if we were to not have that, then the meeting on that next meeting would be our very last meeting of the summer. So I do believe this will be prudent to us working as a body of being able to fit in other things into this emergency GBM. But if we do want to take a look at that, I suppose the Judiciary Committee could try and meet and to talk about it. However, a lot of our members are unavailable at this moment in time. So I think under my interpretation of Robert's rules and the all appendices of our bylaws, it would be most prudent to be able to allow more than one agenda item to be added to this emergency GBM's agenda. With that, I yield.
Advisor Miller, do you still have a point?
If I'm not point information, if I'm not mistaken, I believe next week is a training. The finance training, I don't know if it's the first one or the second one, so the timeliness is extremely important to be approved. So that I think it might be the second.
I believe it's on the Thursday.
But then it might be perfect for training. Thank you.
Legislator Snell.
Okay, then, so quick question, is there any way we can prioritize this? I know today it was like one of our last pieces of new business. Can we make it the very first thing? Possibly.
Point of information, it'd just be up to the steering chair's discretion. However, it has been raised at the point that we can just put it up first on the agenda. Just make sure that's done first. Are there any other points of discussion on the discussion of emergency GBM next week? Seeing none, we'll be moving on in the agenda. Next up on the agenda is the approval of Samuel Jung for the Director of Financial Affairs, presented by President Johnson. President Johnson, you have the floor.
Hello, it's me again. I have another person for you all to look at. So Sam, I actually wanted to hire earlier this summer, but he had a very nice internship that took him away from me for a little bit. That internship is ending this week, and I'd like to get him going as soon as humanly possible so that he and I can, get to work on some of the things I wanted to do. Honestly, I'm just gonna stop yapping. I'm gonna let Sam present himself to you. Sam, the floor is yours. If you can come up to the podium, that'd be great.
Is that working? Very cool. Yeah, Marcus, thank you. Have to give some gratitude to Marcus for been working some 12-hour shifts. So, but for now on, you guys have me, so I'll be on all hands on deck. But I guess a little bit of background on me. Currently going to be a senior in the fall, doing finance and then also doing a minor in computer science. Had some previous experience at some finance related funds, like private equity, commercial investment bank, so things like that. So I think very competent for the role. But then happy to, I guess, answer any questions or dig in on my background or whatever you guys need from me.
Majority Leader Bauer.
I just wanted to ask, why are you choosing to join Student Congress, or what interested you in this position and being a part of this body?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just wanted to, I've always been pretty involved on campus. Currently I'm a part of 3 business orgs, also computer science org as well. So just wanted to deepen my engagement with campus and believe very highly in Marcus and his plan in improving campus life. So just wanted to kind of join that and also, be more engaged on campus as well.
Legislator Wiegand.
Where was your internship at?
Yeah, so just finished up an internship at JP Morgan this summer.
And you mentioned commercial investment banking.
Yeah.
Was that mergers and acquisitions or IPOs?
Yeah, I personally did not work on any live deals on that, but yeah, that is basically what we do in the IB and the CB.
Are there any other questions for Sam at this time? Seeing none, Sam, I'm going to ask you to step out. We'll be moving on to discussion.
Thank you, everyone.
Sam, if you could open that door behind you also. Okay, are there any discussion points about this time? Majority Leader Brummer.
I think he's obviously like very financially qualified for the position. Also too, with my experience, I know the Director of Financial Affairs holds that additional, seat in staff back for OUSC representation. So President Johnson, knowing that you interviewed him, I just wanted to ask, what you think, how you think Sam will be beneficial to upcoming work within SAPAC.
And I think Sam will be pretty fine working with the other SAFAC organizations. I think it helps with the, what was I gonna say, the different clubs and RSOs he's been involved with, he's been able to engage in. I think he's been able to engage with a few people in SAFAC boards as well as he does come highly recommended from Jen Yetter in the OSI, who handles our payroll. She really likes him as well. So I think he will be able to work pretty well with all of the other people in the SAFAC, as well as representing what we want to do, what our interests are. And I know he's very eager to work with all of you to figure out what that's going to look like. So that when he goes to the SAFAC, he can present that adequately to the other members.
Chairperson LaBelle.
I'll start off by saying that I like Sam. I will be happy to vote in favor of him to get this position. I just wanted to say I'm very happy to hear that his availability will be better in the fall because he was hired as an interim director like a month and a half, 2 months ago, and we ended up having to remove him because he couldn't come to get approved, and there is there's a definitive amount of time in which somebody can serve as interim director. So I'm happy to hear that he will be more available for the fall, and I'm happy to have him join us. With that, I yield.
Yeah, that one was totally on me, by the way. I claim all fault there.
Point of information, Legislator Oprah, is that microphone in front of you on?
It is not.
Okay, I thought I saw the light and I thought it might be giving feedback because of that. Legislator Weekend.
So I think he's a great candidate. He's definitely qualified, if not overqualified. In fact, he might even be disappointed that we don't have as much work for him as he's used to. Just because that internship I know is very, very, very high level. So I would say I'm impressed and I will be voting yes.
Legislator Snell.
I lost my train of thought, my bad.
All right, are there any other points of discussion on Sam at this time? Seeing none, we'll be moving into a roll call vote. Your name, please state.
Point of information, I believe a while ago, Legislator Martino joined. Did we mark him as present voting?
That is correct. I did see a present from Legislator Martino in the chat earlier. I just forgot to mark it. Once again, we'll be moving on to a roll call vote. Chairperson LaBelle.
Yay.
Legislator Snell.
Nay.
Majority Leader Plummer.
Yay.
Chairperson Valdez.
Yay.
Parliamentarian Bella.
Yay.
Legislator Barris.
Yay.
Legislator Dreswicki.
Yay.
Legislator Lunger.
Yay.
Legislator Martino.
Yay.
Legislator Mays.
Yay.
Legislator Mason.
Yay.
Legislator Obra.
Yay.
Sorry. Legislator Pershendaro.
Yay.
Legislator Rosario.
Yay.
Legislator Van Patten.
Yay.
Legislator Wiegand.
Yay.
With that, somebody please grab Sam from the hallway. Congratulations, Director Young. You are now the Director of Financial Affairs.
You're cool now.
All right. With that, we'll be moving on into old business. First thing in old business is CB 6804. This is presented by Speaker DeVore. This is the second reading and is eligible to be voted upon at this meeting. Speaker DeVore, you have the floor. I'm not going to make my bid this time.
Oh.
Oh, red flag, so that means I'm funny. All right, so once again, this is a bill to create an ad hoc committee for SAFB reform. I changed the name of it to be the OUSC SAFB Reform Committee. As said, kind of a little bit during this meeting even, the relationship between SAFB and OUSC has been long debated, which resulted in an attempt at separation last administration. During this administration, the effort failed to pass, and we resolved basically to focus on reform efforts during the upcoming administration. As a standing committee of student congress, it's beneficial to amend this relationship. And in order to maintain the many benefits between the two, we just need to, fix up some of the stuff that caused both of us some issues. So we welcome any and all dialogue with SAFB to amend this relationship and aim to do anything within its power to maintain and improve this current relationship. This is creating an ad hoc committee to provide an open forum for SAFB and OUSC to hear and address concerns from each other related to the relationship, called the OUSC SAFB Reform Committee. It's chaired by the Speaker of the Legislature, and the committee shall have seats for all members of SAFB, the Executive Board, and all members of OUSC. There's a member minimum requirement for the committee to be run, considering of the Speaker because they're the chair. The SAFB chair and the judiciary chair, I put the judiciary chair on there since they're the one that basically is the one that interprets both sets of bylaws, and kind of has ruling authority and interpretation on both of them. So I felt like they were an important person to have when we're dealing with bylaw issues. The committee shall meet once a month. It's recommended to meet more than that though. Committee shall be a public forum. It's not going to have a maximum member requirement. All members of both organizations are encouraged to attend. And it may be dissolved at any time, provided that the legislature has a 2/3 majority vote and unanimous vote of the SAFB board. Are there any questions at this time? President Johnson.
That last clause, is that like both of those have to be met?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure to specify that we said and, so for.
Majority Leader Brummer.
I definitely see a purpose for putting both organizations together in a committee to work through any, issues with our collaboration. But I'm wondering if we have an outline of the type of reforms that we're even planning to look at within this committee.
At this time, I don't have one. I've been talking to, basically since I got elected, I talked to VP Matthews pretty extensively at it since she was the one leading the separation effort last time. Along with, I've talked with former chairperson Agrawala, along with current chair Ludwig. I don't have a current outline of specific issues at this time. It's kind of something I'll be working out while we're putting this committee together. I'm meeting with Chairperson Ludwig shortly to put together guidelines for this committee since we obviously have to have stuff to operate. But at this time, I don't have a specific set of stuff. I'll just go off the basis of what VP Matthews used as justification for separation during the last administration, and then kind of go from there.
Okay, I yield.
Are there any other points of discussion at this time? Chairperson Ludwig.
So the only thing that, there are a few things that I don't think necessarily anything needs to change about, but I think they're just things that need to be discussed, like how student congress presides over SAFB, make our powers clear and make OUSC's powers clear, because I know that sometimes there's confusion on what SAFB can and can't do. And I think just having an open line of communication with specific people is great, so that one, student congress knows what SAFB is doing, SAFB knows what student congress is doing in regards to SAFB, and if anything, if there's any issues, it's not like sudden and confusing for anybody on either side.
Are there any other points of discussion at this time? Seeing none, we'll be moving on into a roll call vote. Chairperson LaBelle.
Yay.
Legislator Snell.
Yay.
Oh.
Sorry.
Majority Leader Bromer.
Yay.
Chairperson Valdez.
Yay.
Parliamentarian Bella.
Yay.
Legislator Barris.
Yay.
Legislator Dreswicki.
Yay.
Legislator Lunger. Legislator Martino,
Yay.
Legislator Mays,
Yay.
Legislator Mason,
Yay.
Legislator Obra,
Yay.
Legislator Christian
Yay.
Legislator Rosario. Saw a yay from both Legislator Rosario and Legislator Munger in the chat. Legislator Van Patten.
Yay.
Legislator Wiegand.
Yay.
All right, with that, CB 6804 has passed. On the agenda, we have CB 6805. This is presented by Chairperson LaBelle. This is the second reading and is eligible to be voted upon at this meeting. Chairperson LaBelle, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm not gonna start off this by rereading through this bill. I will do that before we vote on it though. This is the ban on the usage of generative AI in student Congress, which I presented a few, like 2 meetings ago. It wasn't able to go up for a vote or its second reading last meeting because I was the chair of the meeting and did not want to deal with the parliamentary procedure of allowing the chair to present a bill which was raised a couple of GBMs before, and I just didn't want to deal with that. We're gonna ignore what just happened though, in terms of the legislation that was just passed. Sorry for putting that in everyone's heads. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is what I've added since this was last talked about, which is not much. Legislator Snell today actually just recommended that I add the definition of generative AI into the whereas, which I did do in that third little section there. It's just literally a copy and paste of what I put in the actual bill. I'm not very creative, I suppose. So the second thing I wanted to talk about in terms of the content of this bill is I'm gonna put somebody on the spot here. Legislator Prushendaro actually raised the point of possibly removing the clauses that put a ban on generative AI usage to create images. So I want to yield the floor to you to talk about that and your points.
Yes, okay, I think the red flags are valid, but I'm going to explain this.
Yield the flags, yield the flags.
I'm very in support of this bill. I'm very in support of not involving AI in any sort of legislative measures. The exception to this is I don't think we should draw a line at using it for graphics. I see that as something that is acceptable to automate. One of the arguments that was used in favor of this is that like AI image generation uses a lot of power and uses a lot of water. The fact that was given is like generating one image with an AI system uses like up to 50 liters of water, and like that's true, and that's a lot of water. It's also true that the production of a pound of beef involves like 7,000 liters of water. And while I would be in favor ethically of like banning meat on campus, that's a separate thing. That's it. That's kind of my argument. If now would be the time that I would motion to amend the bill, and if we can oppose it, we can do a vote.
I think let's have a little discussion on it first.
I still have a motion raised. A motion was raised by Legislator Prushendaro to amend amend and remove image creation, I'm guessing?
Yeah, remove just the image creation.
Do I have a second to that motion?
You need a second.
Can I go against that motion?
We do not have a second to the motion, so the motion is not passed. Chairperson Leotti, or co-chairperson Leotti?
If possible, can I counter the points that Legislator Prushendaro has made? Yes, the generation of a picture
uses 5 liters of water, sure. And then the production of beef uses 7,000 liters, is that it? We are not producing meat to that extent by, like, we are not able to stop that from happening with a simple bill, but we are able to stop someone from generating, let's say, 70 pictures just for marketing measures with this bill, which if we are able to do that, then that is enough of a change in the production, in the use of water, that it's worth the attempt. Also, there are plenty of graphics online, of free pictures online, there are thousands of websites that provide those, and although some of them have been invaded by AI pictures, you can still find plenty of things online to use in posters, in marketing, in anything, that it's not, the use of AI is not necessary to do all that. I do.
Legislator Snell.
Furthermore, removing the clause of going against generating images stands directly in conflict with CR 6804, which states we will take any and all measures necessary to take sustainable action. With that, I yield.
Majority Leader Brummer.
I just wanted to bring up a point that I think was discussed the last time we were discussing this. But I believe it might have been mentioned by Legislator Snell that a lot of the AI images are taken from artists and their original works. And ethically, I'm not really very supportive of that. So I am also very supportive of keeping this clause within the bill, but with that I yield.
Seeing as the motion has failed, I'm going to cut off discussion time on that motion. I'll be moving on with presentation of the bill by the chair from above.
By a show of hands, how many more of you guys actually wanted to talk about that? Yeah, okay. If there was people that actually wanted to talk about that, I would yield to discussion, but I'm not going to do that. Let's read through the actual bill now. So I'll just start, I'll try and go through it quickly. We've already had a long UVM. Amends Article 1 of Appendix 1 to create a section. Section 1 named Congressional AI Policy. The section shall be formatted as follows. I put it like this so we just copy and paste it into the bylaws. Congressional AI Policy. As University Student Congress continues to work to produce impactful legislation that not only impacts students in a meaningful way, you scroll past what I was doing, meaningful way, but in a way that shows good faith and respect to the constituency, it's imperative that the members of the University Student Congress carry out their duty of producing legislation and producing other works themselves rather than through the uses of AI. Generative AI shall be defined as AI models that can generate completely new content in forms of text, images based on patterns, trained behavior, and prompts. Generative AI is not spell checkers, accessibility tools, spam filters, recommendation systems, fraud detection, image recognition, analyzation tools. The difference between generative AI and non-generative AI is generative AI creates new content, non-generative AI is typically analytical. The scope of applicability. Congressional AI policy shall be enforced during all University Student Congress meetings, events, collaborations, forums, legislation, marketing, all forms of OUSC affiliated communication, and other official activities. Any platform or medium that performs the function of University Student Congress, which is being used to represent and facilitate University Student Congress business. Members shall not use generative AI in the creation of legislation or marketing graphics tools in any shape or form. If a member is found to have been using generative AI, they cannot be sanctioned as a member. You can't get like a grievance filed against whom. You cannot be removed from Student Congress for using AI. The legislation that they produce with generative AI will not be allowed to be on the agenda until it's rewritten without the usage of generative AI. We talked about this, the clarification at this point last time. Essentially what this means is if a specific section of a bill is found to have been using generative AI, they just have to rewrite that specific section, that specific sentence, whatever. The Judiciary Chair and the Steering Chair shall work in tandem to ensure that generative AI is not used on legislation. Before legislation is declared to have been written with AI, they must be checked by 2 different AI detection tools. I talked about the possibility of raising that if we were so inclined. We can talk about that a little bit more when we go into discussion. Legislation must be above 75% chance of being written by AI to be labeled as AI written, meaning if it has like a 60% chance of being written by AI, it will not be labeled as AI written. Specific sections of legislation may be singled out as AI written if a specific section is labeled as AI written. That's what I just said a minute ago.
The president and vice president shall work in tandem to ensure that works created by the executive board and their committees are not created using generative AI. The method for doing so is at their own discretion. Works created by the president and vice president shall be checked by the speaker of the legislature and the judiciary chair. With that discussion.
Are there any points of discussion on CBCC 805 at this time? Legislator Wiegand.
So my big thing about this that I don't like is that I feel like it should be attacking the misuse of generative AI rather than the use of generative AI completely. Like for example, I'll use AI to like rewrite phrases. I know I mentioned that last time we had this conversation. But the way I think of it is instead of having it just do all of the work for me, I'm having it assist me in doing the work, sort of like in the Iron Man movie, how he had the AI and it's like giving him information. And obviously I'll check everything and make sure that it's accurate information. But I like even in my company that I'm working at, I'll have other agents that are bringing in like millions and millions of dollars in sales revenue, and they're all using AI. They're all using ChatGPT. Like in the business world, in the professional world, it's everywhere, and they're using it as a tool rather than doing the work for them. So I think that there's ways to actually use it and have it benefit us as a Congress.
Chairperson Lavelle.
So that's a very fair point. I believe if we wanted to, one way we could ensure like even if like a sentence was just written by AI to further like flesh it out, I personally don't see a problem with that. We could add a line that just simply says exceptions may be granted on a case-by-case basis, which should be fine. If we as a body are okay with that, can I get just like a show of hands of who would be in favor of that sort of line being added? That doesn't seem like a very friendly majority. So I am not going to add that, nor will I accept that as a friendly amendment, just because the body does not seem to be in favor of that. But if you'd like to propose that as an amendment and we can debate on it and vote on that, sure.
Legislator Snell.
I just want to point out, again, I'm fully in favor of the bill as it stands, strictly because, for starters, as Marion pointed out, AI relies on theft, point blank. Like, there is no such thing as an AI generated that was because, well, I came up with the idea. No, he came up with a prompt that then guided a robot to steal from someone else, point blank. Second of all, we have a team of people called our marketing committee, dedicated to creating the images that we put out. We are all legislators sitting here that are dedicated to creating the words, to creating the ideas, to creating things for other that represent our students. Furthermore, I am very much so in favor of the idea that part of cleaning up our image, part of rebuilding the trust in the student body that we have lost would be not being hypocrites, especially when it comes to legislation that might counteract our own legislation. We passed CR 6804. That states we must take any and all measures possible to be as sustainable as possible. And generative AI completely counters that idea. It goes, so to the idea that the idea of passing this bill would stand in favor with that. And if this is a motion that we can take, a step that we can make towards upholding the ideas that we've already outlined, then I'm fully in favor of doing it. And we would be, in my opinion, foolish not to. With that, I yield.
Are there any other points of discussion on CBCC 805 at this time? Seeing none, we'll be moving into a roll call vote. Chairperson Lavelle.
Yay.
Legislator Snell.
Yay.
Majority Leader Brummer.
Yay.
Chairperson Valdez.
Yay.
Parliamentarian Villa.
Yay.
Legislator Barris.
Yay.
Legislator Dreswicki.
Yay.
Legislator Longer,
Yay.
Legislator Martino,
Abstain.
Legislator Mays,
She took a point of personal privilege.
personal point of privilege by Legislator Mays, Legislator Mason,
Yay.
Legislator Over,
Yay.
Legislator Christendaro,
Yay.
Legislator Rosario,
Yay.
Legislator Van Patten,
Yay.
Legislator Wiegand. All right. With that, CB 6805 has passed. All right, moving on the agenda, we have CB 6806 as presented by Speaker DeVore. This is second reading and is eligible to be voted upon at this meeting. Speaker DeVore, you have the floor. Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I had to do it once. You know, it's my last time as chair. Let me do my little funny. That's true. I'm just not presenting anything next week that I know of. All right, so the actual bill. Once again, I'm presenting this on behalf of Adrian Jimenez Morales because he's not part of OUSC, he can't present bills. But this bill would create the Racial Equity and Cultural Empowerment Ad Hoc Committee, or the REACE Committee as we're calling it. It's basically to support the many different, I believe the term he used was different diasporas and ethnic groups at Oakland University. Many different executive actions from entities within the federal government have created a threatening and unsafe environment for students belonging to different diasporas. Okay, point of personal privilege seen by Chairperson Valdez. Sorry. Different diasporas, you said? Diasporas, I apologize. And ethnic groups on campus, typically increased visits from immigration and customs enforcement and United States Border Patrol, which has led to many students feeling unsafe on campus. Typically, multiple Oakland University students have had their immigration visas revoked over the past several months due to increased actions by ICE. The purpose of this committee is to allow students the opportunity to ensure that Oakland University remains a diverse and open environment through both policy and action.
Can I have a point of order really quickly?
Yeah.
With Chairperson Valdez taking point of personal privilege, how's our quorum looking?
We are at 13 exactly.
Lovely.
So I will ask that pretty please, nobody please leave before voting because we will lose quorum. All right, so once again, this is creating the REACE committee to address their issues related to the diasporas and ethnic groups on campus and create a public forum for advocacy relating to those issues. The chair of the committee is Adrian Jimenez Morales, as I said. Should this chair step down or otherwise be removed, the chair will be elected by the legislature. It's recommended that this chair be a student of color. This was recommended to me by Legislator Snell. And obviously the chair of the committee, if they're a member of Student Congress, their position is not a separate position from a chair or legislative position. Basically just meaning they're not going to get separate pay or anything. It's a public forum of OUSC, open to all members of the student body to let their voices be heard on the different issues relating to their different ethnic groups and diasporas on campus. For clarification, it's gonna have no member minimum or maximum requirement. It's just a public forum. And at minimum, it will meet once per month. Are there any points of discussion or motions at this time? Chairperson Lavelle.
Quickly, just to say, I'm in favor of this. I love this. I do really have to use the bathroom. So I will indicate beforehand, I'm voting yay in the affirmative.
Are there any other points of discussion at this time? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to a roll call vote. I heard a yay from Chairperson LaBelle. Legislator Snell.
Yay.
Majority Leader Brummer. Chairperson Valdez. Director Voice Personal Privilege. Parliamentarian Bella.
Yay.
Legislator Barris.
Yay.
Legislator Jeswicki.
Yay.
Legislator Lunger.
Yay.
Legislator Martino.
Yay.
Legislator Mason.
Yay.
Legislator Obra.
Yay.
Legislator Christian.
Yay.
Legislator Rosario.
Yay.
Legislator Van Patten.
Yay.
Legislator Wiegand.
Yay.
With that, CB 6804 has, sorry, CB 6806 has passed. Moving on the agenda, we have CR 6810. This is presented by Legislator Lunger. This is the second reading and is eligible to be voted upon at this meeting. Legislator Lunger, you have the floor.
Hold on, let me find the bill in my Google Docs. I just found it. This is a resolution that allows half-time, 3/4 time, and students that can't attend full-time every semester to receive scholarships, for like academic excellence awards and the Phi Theta Kappa award. This applies to first-year students and transfer students, whereas the OU Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships only allows full-time students registered for 12 credit hours or more every semester to receive scholarships for high academic achievement. Some students are unable to register full-time every semester due to various reasons, including tuition/materials costs, medical conditions, transportation issues, family life, and/or work schedules. Half-time, 3/4 time, and students who are unable to attend full-time each semester do not receive any scholarships for their hard work and are ineligible for most forms of financial aid, which forces them into dealing with the burden of high tuition and materials costs. The Oakland University Student Congress supports and calls on the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships to open up scholarship opportunities to half-time and 3/4 time students that have earned academic excellence in high school or previous colleges. Any questions?
Any points of discussion on CR 6810 at this time?
Oh, there's one thing I have to say. Me, Marion Lance, and a few other people are meeting with, let me see. We have a meeting scheduled with someone in the scholarship office next Thursday from 2:30 to 3:15 with Dawn Aubrey. If anyone would like to join, they're welcome.
Thank you, Legislator Snell.
So just point of information, I believe it would be, this meeting hasn't yet occurred.
No, it's gonna be next Thursday.
President Johnson.
I will offer a little context on the meeting in question. The meeting in question, Legislator Lunger mentioned, was in response to the resolution passed that was written by Legislator Maku about scholarships and the ones that the school fundraises for, and how can we expand those to people who are going to be here a bit longer. So this is a bit of a different one, but it is something that could be discussed at said meeting. I believe.
Legislator Snell.
So then, point of information, is it possible then for this Office of Financial Aid and Scholarship to open that up? Because I know federally, as of right now, past the House, it's raised full-time to be, I believe it's 16 credit hours. So are they? Statewide level, it's 15. Statewide level, apologies, and it's 15. So is it possible that they can do it, or is this going to pose as a sort of sandpaper on our relationship between that office and state Congress?
Legislator Lunger, do you have a response?
Wait, repeat that.
So my question is, since we have yet to meet with the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships, while I do support this resolution, is this something they are able to do, or is this not in their capacity?
I'm not sure. We'll have to discuss this with them.
Chairperson LaBelle.
Thank you. So just as a point of clarification, this is the resolution which we had at our last meeting that we postponed in favor of meeting with the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships to further flesh this out. And we wanted that meeting to take place before the next reading, correct? So with that, I would like to put forth a motion to postpone this indefinitely.
Motion to postpone indefinitely raised by Chairperson LaBelle, seconded by Majority Leader Brummer. Do I have a counter to the motion? Seeing none, the motion is passed. CR 6810 will be postponed indefinitely. What was it trying that hard? All right, with that, we'll be moving on to discussion. Are there any points of discussion at this time? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to legislative updates. First up is the Speaker of the Legislature, Speaker DeVore. Speaker DeVore, you have the floor. Oh, thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me the right to speak. All right, shoot, I should have wrote this down ahead of time, because I know I had a couple things, and now I'm completely blanking. Okay. I did want to bring up the point of the religious ad hoc committee that was proposed by Legislator Wolf during last UVM when I read the CB 6806. I'm currently in talks with Legislator Snell and President Johnson to put together that committee a little bit. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Just to try to get a little idea of what that would look like in the future. We're very early in those talks right now, but it is something being worked on. I'm currently still working on reaching out to the support services on campus to add liaisons to let them have liaisons here. I'm hopefully putting that up probably first week of the fall. Just because I feel like we should have a direct line of communication with some of those support services. You know, we gotta represent all the groups on campus. What else? Oh yeah, I've been continuing working on the General Assembly reform that I've been working on. I kind of got shot down both in legislative leadership meetings and the ledge meetings with the original plan that I had that I worked out with President Johnson. That's okay, that's kind of why I wanted to present it to y'all and get through all the hoops before I try to present anything, because I want to make it as good as possible since that's our big form of our communication. So the proposed idea I was working with, that was proposed by Majority Leader Brummer during our legislative leadership, was amending it to be more of a as issues come up type of meeting. So say like some big pressing issue were to come up to the student body, and we decided, okay, we need to talk to the whole student body about this. What do we need to do? Because it's some big thing. I did draft up a little bit of that. I'm working on it with President Johnson at the moment. It's still in a little early stages, but that's about where that's at the moment. I'll keep talking with all of you about that as I'm working on it. I'm going to be meeting with Majority Leader Brummer at the least next week about the student engagement task force, trying to get some of that up and running. Kind of because that's my big initiative I want to be pushing in the next semester. I'll have more info on that next week because we'll have that meeting by that point. I still got to talk to Legislator Markowitz about that as well. With that, that's about all the updates I have at the moment. I'll give the floor to any updates related to legislative leadership. Chairperson LaBelle.
Thank you very much. I've had a fair amount going on. The other day, the Judiciary Committee met to discuss possible amendments to Appendix 3, which is our election bylaws. As I mentioned earlier, I'll say a little bit more about that now. The very first conversation, I think one of the very first conversations me and President Johnson had after the results were announced were about how bad the election was because of how crap the Appendix 3 is. I mean, the entire time, both me and him were just playing phone tag with our elections commissioner. It was just awful. So what we're doing right now is I've assigned like a read over to all of the Judiciary Committee members where they'll look at the Appendix 3, note down anything they think is weird, anything that they think needs to be changed, or just anything that's just off about it. And we'll talk about that at our next Judiciary Committee meeting, which is likely to be in late August, because I just don't want to schedule a meeting around like final exams for the summer semester, e-bill being due slightly before move-in. Like August is a very busy month.
So we're gonna talk more about that then, and we're going to try and get a bill out to reform Appendix 3 in its entirety, because it is, it doesn't run via articles, so it's just one big thing, and it's 20 pages. That is probably the most prudent way to just go through it. So we're gonna be meeting later this month to do that, and we should have a bill out by the end of September, hopefully. I don't quite know, I'm not gonna put out an official timeline, but that's what I expect. After that, we're going to be looking at Appendix 1 again, because I attempted to reform it just a tiny bit. Last year, I put forth several bills to do so, and we were mildly successful in making it somewhat more clear. However, it still needs a lot of work. It's like 47 pages of sometimes nonsense, so we need to look at that a little bit more. I will say I have been personally rather busy, so I haven't been able to do as much as I would have liked. I still have to finish my the guidelines for the LGBTQ ad hoc committee. I've just been personally busy due to just dealing with finances related to school, and of course I'm legally changing my name soon, and it's a very long process that is a lot of work, especially because I live in, well, I'm registered living in Ogama County, which is notoriously the hardest county to change your name in Michigan. It's lovely. So that's a little personal update for me. I've been really busy, so I haven't been able to do as much as I would have liked. With that, I believe that's all my report has to cover. With that, I yield.
All right, are there any other updates related to legislative leadership at this time? Seeing none, I'll be moving on to updates related to legislative projects and initiatives. Are there any updates at this time, Legislator Snow?
Yes, so I actually just today finished the entirety of the disability support committee that's been written. I just sent it over to DSS today to actually get it looked over by them and get them as a supporter, hopefully. If I don't have an update by next week, I'm going to reach back out to them because I actually work for Disability Support Services, so it's very easy. We also have a chair for that committee. Legislator Emily Lunker is actually stepping up to be the chair of that committee, which is very nice, and is a co-sponsor of the bill now, so that's fun. On top of that, I know I went through the archives of it today and I found a couple resolutions and bills that I was hoping to bring back. So I reached out to the people to make that possible, and I reached out to Graham Health Center because one of them revolved around possibly a reproductive care center through them, which would be kind of fun, I thought at least. So yeah, with that I yield.
Are there any other updates related to legislative projects and initiatives at this time? Seeing none, are there any questions related to legislative reports? Seeing none, we're moving on to liaison report. Are there any liaisons who wish to give their report at this time?
Yes, there is a gardening event at the Student Organic Farm on Sunday, August 17th from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. We will be pulling weeds and picking berries. Legislator Maku and I will be there. If anyone is interested, reach out to Legislator Maku, who is the treasurer of PCO, or Legislator Rosario, who is the president of PCO. With that, I yield the floor.
All right. Are there any other liaisons who wish to give their report at this time? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to the executive reports. First up, the Student Body President, Marcus Johnson. President Johnson, you have the floor.
Hello. So fun updates on what I've been doing. I'm just gonna go for it. First, I did get a chance to meet with the provost. We love the provost. She's very fun. She's very adamant that we should make TikToks and that we should include her in the TikToks and that we should drag VP Mac into the TikToks with her, which he also thought was a very fun idea. So I will have a very fun task for the marketing director and the marketing committee to deal with. But with regard to the midterm grade policy, so she took the resolution that we gave her, she gave it to the deans. Now, I don't know how many of you I told this to, but I know we limited the scope to 1,000 to 2,000 level courses. She wanted to pursue it for all undergraduate courses. And after meeting with the deans, who wanted to take it a little further than she did, she started it as a request to the faculty But she is wanting to, the official ask is for all undergraduate and graduate courses. So the approach she's taking is that she's gonna start by asking professors if they would implement it. I did tell her, and I told her the same thing that AAUP told me, which is if you start by mandating it, you will face friction, even among the people who like the policy. So she's starting with an ask, and she actually included our resolution in the memo that she sent out to all the faculty. I'm gonna have that sent out to you all if you'd like to read it. If you don't, it's fine, entirely up to you. So I'm very excited to say we've made good progress there. I must admit, the provost is a very, very energetic woman. She's one of these types of people. She's a doer. She wants to get it done as soon as humanly possible. And I can appreciate that because I'm a doer too. Remember when I said I like to move at this speed and the bureaucracy likes to move at this speed? The provost and I were at the same length here. So I'm very appreciative of that. I also brought to her something I'm working on. We're taking steps toward talking about it, but it's not something we've completed yet. The development of some type of co-curricular transcript. I was meeting with Advisor Miller about this as well, and I had a chance to meet with the registrar about it. So initially, I wanted it to be some sort of way for all student leaders to have some sort of notation of what their non-academic extracurricular involvement would look like on their transcript. But when I talked to the registrar, she was saying if you go on the transcript, it has to be formatted like an actual class. That's our curriculum. That's not gonna work. So we were discussing how could we do something so that students here can get recognition for the involvement and leadership they've taken at this university when they go to other schools, graduate schools, medical schools, law schools, things of that note, with the resources we have at our disposal. And we're in the process of putting a group together to talk about it. I had a chance to talk with both. Well, the provost really liked the idea, which I hope so, because she was the one who mentioned it to me. And I got VP Mac on board to talk about it. Let's see what we can do with that. But in a sense, all of you, in a sense, could benefit from it because you would be able to receive some sort of recognition for your student leadership involvement through OUSC, through other organizations you're involved in. So I'm saying to say that we've started talking about it, and I'm very happy to see that there's progress being made there, but we will see. We're putting a group together to get it all fleshed out. Senate committees, I would really, really, really appreciate it if y'all would sign up for those, because it'd be really great if you can. If you can't, or you just don't want to, fine. Just note that they will solicit student involvement elsewhere and could potentially start removing student involvement in some of these committees. And one of our biggest things is to make sure that our voices are in places where students typically are not. So we want to make sure that we're meeting up with that. And for those of you who have signed up for committees, thank you, gold star for you. The chairs of those committees should start reaching out to you relatively soon as the fall semester approaches to get those scheduled. If for some reason you cannot stick with the schedule that they give you, please tell me, and I'll put you on a different committee. All right, and I will get someone to fill your spot because we want to make sure that you're participating in those. Because as members, you are voting members that contribute to their quorum. So when you're not there, it could fuddle things. Speaking of scheduling, Speaker DeVore at some point this week will be sending you all a Lent meet link so that we can get GBMs scheduled for next semester. I thought I asked Chairperson Valdez to do that a while ago. I sent her the link, but I'm certain there was a verbal conversation there. But Speaker DeVore also has said link so that we can get those scheduled.
Point of information, that link will be sent immediately after this meeting. I was just
Okay.
about to make an announcement about that.
Wonderful. And then I did get a chance to meet with VP Mac. He's a fun guy. This is above him too. This is another one of those instances where the bureaucracy is moving slower than I am. Because for the past few months, I've been nagging him about our constitutional changes that I need to get before the Board of Trustees. I was hoping to have it done before the end of the summer. But considering that the next board meeting is tomorrow over Zoom, and they're not meeting again until October, I don't think my goal is going to be accomplished. But you know what? It's fine. I gave some leeway because I know they had the budget and everything to deal with, and I didn't want to interrupt with that. But I am gonna set up a meeting with him for sometime this month to discuss all of that, to answer whatever questions he could possibly still have with regard to that, so that when he takes it to the board, there should be no questions about the soundness of what we do. Because I have sent him just about everything I can access. I sent him the current constitution, I sent him a version of the constitution with the proposed changes being outlined in it, and then I sent him the version of what the final constitution would look like. I sent him the congressional report to validate that all of the changes I'm recommending have been approved. The list goes on, but I guess there's no questions. So we're gonna set up a meeting, get that hammered out, so life can be lickety split. And I will, on a final note, I wanna thank you all for your flexibility and workability with the water intrusion event. I know that came as a surprise to all of us, and it was not normal not being able to access the office for a week. So I wanna commend you all and thank you for how well you were able to adapt to that. I'm glad I was able to get us all some remote work for that week so that we can continue to do our jobs. The OC was kind enough to set me up here somewhere, because I live on campus, so I was fine coming into work, but I knew it wasn't feasible to ask you all to do the same. So I figured I'm gonna just let y'all stay at home, chill, do your work from there, and I'll come here and I'll do what needs doing here at least. But I'm glad to say that we are suitably back into our office, as you are all aware, and I predict things going fine from there on. I do intend to meet with Chris Reed more to discuss what measures can be taken to prevent future water intrusion events, as he calls them. Just that, because this is definitely not the first time this has happened. And I think it's, Advisor Miller, did you want to add on to something? Oh, 3? This is the 3rd time this has happened. In how many years?
Since the renovation of the
Yeah, so since the last time the OC was renovated, it has flooded 3 times. And I know this also is an above him thing, but I just wanted to see, what are we doing to prevent that going forward? And I know Director DeMond's Rainwater Girls will definitely help with that. I think it will. I'm pretty sure it will. And I thought it was very ironic that the day she told me about those was the day the office was intruded by water. So, again, thank you all for your flexibility and being able to work well with that. I know it was very shocking and very not normal. And for those who were there, thank you for your swift action and making sure nothing was damaged. It is not fun when you see poo caca water coming at you as it is spewing from the floor. But you all responded well, you didn't panic, you didn't go nuts, kinda did, but kinda didn't. We kinda did. You did good, I'm proud of you all, we got everything set, and luckily, our office was thankfully not as affected as others are. We were able to go back into our office. The same cannot be said for our friends in the pantry, or an SVP, or an OSI, or in anyone who's literally on that side of the habitat. So naturally, our thoughts are with our friends who have been removed from their office homes, and I will remain committed to getting you updates as to how they're getting settled, because it's not fun. It's not fun at all, and I know a lot of plans got changed last minute because of that. With that, I will shush up and yield.
All right, with that, I will move on to the student body vice president, Vice President Matthews. I will just provide one report for her. I've heard that she's coming back on August 17th, so we will get to see her again. Yippee, I haven't gotten to see her in like, what, month and a half now? Yeah, well, none of us have, because she's been in South Korea, but we will get to have her back, so yippee. anyways, are there any updates related to e-board projects and initiatives at this time?
Yes.
Chairperson Ludwig.
All right. We had our first training for student orgs last week. It went really well. The e-space for our the orgs is up. Just a reminder, if you do the training, after the training, you must complete the quiz on the e-space. If you have any questions, concerns, reach out to SFB or the OUSC.
Are there any other updates related to e-board projects and initiatives at this time? Seeing none, are there any questions related to executive reports? Chairperson LaBelle?
Yeah, I just wanted to like question / talk a little bit about our Discord server because we haven't really used it much.
Yeah.
And also we have a ton of scammers in there that just aren't being moderated, which I feel is not exactly a positive image to convey to the student body because we're not very engaged with it at all.
My turn. Okay. Yes, thank you for reminding me about that, because that was the other thing I was going to say. I'm gonna go through there tonight and clear out some things that I noticed that I forgot to get rid of yesterday, but it's okay. Ooh, me, red flag, it's fine. But yes, I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna handle that, and I might change my initial plan with it, because my initial plan was to have the internal affairs director handle moderation of it. But I might change the person who's responsible for that until I get that position filled, because I'd like to use it a lot more than we do. I was hoping to slick. I was hoping to delegate that so that it could be a bit more self-sufficient, but it's fine, it's okay. I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna purge some things tonight, so you need not worry about it. And I'm going to take a bit more of a look at who I'm having to moderate that instead of the DIA until I have the DIA.
Chairperson Ludwig?
You do accept.
I just wanted to say that we had the exact same bots in the SAP server, and they posted at the same time. So if you guys need help with that, since I'll be deleting our bots, I would be willing to help you guys.
Thank you. That brings me to one more point. I have to admit, we were just talking about this in the office, and make sure I limit how to do this. Please, 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 if you know anyone who would like to be involved in OUSC, please tell them to apply for the e-board positions we have on Handshake. It's very, very requested that we do so. I posted it on our Instagram. The university's Instagram was kind enough to share it on its story, and I'm going to send out some emails to relevant department heads about it, but please, if you know anyone who may be interested in any of those positions, please tell them to apply. I would like to have a better fleshed out candidate pool than the one I've been presented with. So that's all with that. Thank you.
Legislator Snell?
Quick question. Is this one? There it is. So what exactly is the point of the Discord server? Like, is it supposed to be for internal communication or external?
The Slack is meant to be for internal communication. I meant the Discord to be more of an external communications thing, so that you all and I can be better engaged with students directly, instead of, hoping and praying that some of them come to one of our meetings to come yell at us, that we can, talk with them a lot sooner. But that was the main intention of, and to keep them better updated on some of the things we're doing, some of the bills we're passing, some of the things we're working on, so that, we can keep people involved. Which brings me to another thing that I promised I would do a while ago, and I forgot about it because of a lot of other things I remembered just now. I promised you a while ago that I would create us a Spotify playlist. It has been created. I will share the link out to you all, and you can add your songs to it. I see your face, Legislator Snell. It's meant to be a bonding thing. Okay, just enjoy it. Everyone has their own taste, and we like to hear what folks are, vibing to. So put your song of the day on there, and we can all, give it a view.
Co-chairperson Leonie, did you still have a point?
It's about
about the OUSC Discord. I feel like the agenda should be sent there. If it is a point of connection between OUSC and the other students, it should definitely be sent there.
That's definitely something that is on the list for the moderator.
Legislator Snow?
Is there any way we can also add the archive to that space? Since that is supposed to be for the students to know what we're up to, I think it would be a good place to put it.
We could, we very much could. I think something that might save space is just giving access to the Google site we have that has the archive on it already. So you don't have to, create a bunch of channels to go see something when I can give you a link. You can already find it there. Also, for the Google site, I have made sure that anyone who does not want their picture on there does not have to. But it would be nice if we had a bio for you so that, folks look at it, they know what to expect to hear about you. I'll send that format again. Now.
Chairperson LaBelle?
I guess this isn't really the proper section to talk or say of this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Just talking about like sending the agenda out in our Discord server. I feel like it'd be really prudent if we were able to get these agendas out a little sooner. I know as of recent, we've kind of been functioning as if like, if the agenda isn't fully done, we can't send it out. That's never been the norm. We usually, at least 2 terms ago, we used to send it out before it was done all the time, and we just add more to it as we get more things. It would be really cool if we got the agenda sooner. It would make life so much simpler.
Will make it known, I send the agendas out when I receive them. So I'm gonna yield that point to Speaker DeVore.
I will also yield that point to Chairperson Valdez, as I do not make agendas.
Who is not here. You have a very valid point, Warren, which I agree with one Chairperson LaBelle, yes. And I'm hopeful that as we get the steering committee put together, we will be able to do so, especially since meetings will be more frequent. Eat agendas a lot quicker.
Legislator Lunger, do you still have a point?
Yes, I would like the agendas to get out sooner, like at least 3 to 4 days in advance, so that way, legislators have time to read the bills and really know what we're voting on before the GBM. I think that would be important. And also, that's horrible about the floods at the OSI because I volunteered there last semester and I really enjoyed it. It's a really nice space. And I'm hoping that they could get it up and running again.
Legislator Snow?
Also about the archive, I was going through it today. Is there any way we can send it over to the library? I know it's currently a DIA thing. However, we only have 3 pieces of legislation total in their virtual library. A meeting notes from 2016, an agenda from 2017, and 1 bill from 2019. As you can see, there has been a lot done since, and that is a great way to reach students who might go looking there for us. So is there any way humanly possible we can send it over so they can add it to their archives?
I will email the library, ask them who our archive manager person is, and I will just send them the Google folder, truth be told. I think truthfully, it would just be printing everything out for a physical archive. I think is that what you're asking about, or just in general, just a digital one?
They have a physical one for us as well as a digital. I have not had the time to run over and look at their physical work they have for us. However, I do know the digital is in very desperate need of our assistance, and they also are very much so desperate to have it.
So when I find whoever it is that oversees that, I will just send them the OUSC archives folder that we have. That's a bit more updated so that they can have continual access to the updated material and they can add it to theirs. I didn't know they have a digital one that's separate from ours. I would just told them to just ask us for ours and they can have all the information ready to go, but yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. I'm happy to see what we do with that.
Discussion time has expired on executive reports at this time, so I will be moving on into the OUSC Advisors Report. Gina Miller, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I do have something that I do need from you, and that is a couple weeks ago, I talked about the focus group for the Great Lakes Crossing and that they wanted feedback from the students. There is a focus group that's scheduled for this coming Monday from noon to 1. I'm looking for individuals who either participated in OU night at Great Lakes Crossing or wants to make comments about it. It's being sponsored by them. Lunch will be included. The location will probably be either in the Oakland Center or over in Wilson Hall. If you are still interested, those individuals that express their interest and or since we do have new individuals here, if you could please sign up before you leave with me, I would then give you further information. But it's this Monday. And then just to thank you, Emily, for what you said about our office. I will tell you that we will never be returning to our office because it's that much damage. So we are open downstairs, like Superior Room. We will be there and for the next several weeks until we will go to hopefully what will be our permanent home after the gear shop is moved upstairs. I'm hoping and praying that Monday we can get the food pantry up and running again. And
Yeah, that's just awful. I hope you guys can get the food pantry up and running again soon.
Hopefully by Monday, Emily.
Yeah,
I'll approved today, and I will also let you know that Forgotten Harvest is going to give us 2 pallets of food to help us to replenish what we have lost.
Yeah, I'll bring some donations too the next time I'm on campus.
Okay, but for everybody, don't do anything yet because we got to get ourselves situated back in our spaces. But we are open OSI for whatever need you have. We got a phone working today, and we have printing finally. Yes. So please come and visit us, but bring coats because it's freezing down there. And also, do you all know where your swipe is for your time or for payroll? So it won't be in our office because it's totally locked up. It's down that hallway. Yes, it's very creepy hallway, but that it's there. There's also one upstairs in the food court. There's a place that you go. It's the back way to get into the kitchen. There's one right there too, right at the front of that door. So those are available for you to use, and I will work on getting the other one fixed. I don't know why it was not fixed by this time. Any questions for me? Thank you very much. Great meeting, great conversation.
Legislator Snell, you have a question?
Yeah, is there any way that for our bonding this year, just to give back to Forgotten Harvest for this amazing donation they've given us, that we can go volunteer to make pack some of those pallets?
The pallets are already packed. You don't need to worry about that. I have found out some information about volunteering for Forgotten Harvest. I'm very happy to share that with you for the future. But this is part of our partnership with them. But thank you. If we can write maybe a big thank you note and send it to them, that would be awesome.
Are there any other questions or executive reports at this time? Are there any comments from the gallery at this time? Seeing none, and any announcements? I actually do have a couple announcements. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so I do have those postcards at the front of the room. They were for that HB 4580 event that I kind of been talking to Beth about. They got kind of rained out twice, once because of a flash F word warning and an actual flash F word. So that was super fun. I think just somebody, Mother Nature just does not want me to have that event. But yeah, I have those up there just because I would like them to be used and I would like them to still have our voice be heard to our state legislators. So if they're up there, you can sign them if you want. I have one version of it where you don't have to really write anything, just an address. another version where you can write a little more personal message. It's up to you, whatever you want to do with that. As President Johnson said earlier, I will be sending immediately after this meeting a when to meet so we can start scheduling fall GBMs. I would have liked to have that done a couple weeks ago, but you know, it's not up to me. It's not my job. What's the other thing? Oh yeah, the emergency GBM next week or special GBM, whatever the term is for it. Yeah, like I said, like it being meeting room 129, 130, 128 to 130. Next Wednesday, 5 p.m. Please be there. We would definitely like to get the SAFB bill passed along with the budget. Outside of that, that's all the announcements I had. We're moving on into adjournment, and we'll adjourn this meeting at 8:03 p.m.
Have a great day. Have a great night, everyone.